Ready, play!
Main phase.
So, hello and welcome to another stream, the second stream in 2 days, and it's another one where I'm going to be looking at lesser played arcade games I've not spent much time with. Some of them might be quite popular, but they're ones I've generally not spent much time with, and there might be some hidden gems in here, there might be some awful games in here. We saw that yesterday. Some were good, some were really not worth playing at all, and I think we had fun looking at them and trying to work out what was and what was not worth playing. So, I'm not stubborn, no, apparently. The Ogre is in the chat, who can make it to this one. Cow is here, so Moo. We've got a Carlo, an Aussie guy, who's going to be with the facts tonight, I'm sure, as always. And who else we got? Scrolling down a bit. We've got my partner Evie, who likes the background art, or at least the background art I had on before for the title page. This is a very blueprinty blue background art now. And we've got Ryan Holtz. Welcome, Ryan. And you said you're on the high side of average. I mean, there are worse places you could be then, so I think high side of average, all things considered, is not too bad. But yeah, it'd be nice if everything was perfect, but it rarely is. We've got Big George talking about Where's Wally again. We've got Mitchell, who thought Time Player 84 was the same as Time Polite, and it is not. I don't know, maybe Time Player 84 tends to get overlooked. And we've got History of How We Play, a new face in the chat, I believe. So welcome, and I hope you're doing well too. You say you're doing well enough. Doing book writing, constantly referencing long plays. I'm probably not going to be doing many long plays here because most of the time I die pretty often and fail miserably at the games. But who knows, maybe one day I'll find a game I'm good at. We've also got Mr. Out of Heaven. We've got the Gaming Hell YouTube thing, and we've got another regular, Bob Loblaw, and Mo Burma. So, plenty of people in here. So yeah, we're starting with Schmeiser Robo, because we were talking about Hot B yesterday, and like, what are Hot B's best games? What have they done? And the quality of Hot B stuff is all over the place. You've got some really bad stuff like Playgirls, and then you've got some ones that have quite high production values, like this one, the Schmeiser Robo, and I think this was a Japanese only release. Anyway, let's turn the volume up a little bit, not too loud because I know this is quite a loud game, and we'll change view to horizontal view, and hopefully we'll play it a little bit. So let's coin it up. Now this is a one-on-one fighting game. Now I do notice there's a little bit of tearing on the background there, so it might be missing a sprite buffer. I'm not sure, but who knows? Data sprite buffering. I think a lot of it is actually done based on writes from the CPU. I'm not sure we emulate it all, but maybe some of it is also automatic. But you see, it's telling me all the moves. Just 3 buttons on this fighting game. In fact, I should probably redefine them to something more playable. Yeah, so not a huge selection of characters. There's enough. You say you've got 8 characters, and they're all sort of big robots. It's a fighting game where you can move while blocking. Yeah, I worked out what was wrong with Cube Quest, so we will be looking at that later. It apparently doesn't work if you enable freescale, which is kind of weird, but yeah, if I disable freescale, it doesn't leave trails everywhere, so that's good. We can play it later. So, let's actually try and play the game and not die. That was a good start. Yeah, Hot B's name puts you off because you expect adult games just from the name Hot B, and then they did some adult games, and then you kind of just expect every game to have some sort of adult content. Well, I did play through this with cheats earlier and didn't find anything questionable, so we should be good. I may end up putting cheats on again, actually, because otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to get beat up. So, you see, it's got proper portraits on proper loose quotes. It's got everything you'd actually want in a fighting game. It stands for "he is over there because," and that's it. Yeah, I've seen that actually. I loaded up on the Mega CD games, and it did display that. I don't know if that was always the idea, or if they just decided on that later. Maybe it's like that main video I did, where I just put silly names throughout the video. But, yes. So yeah, you have the third button is the block button. And as mentioned, you can move while blocking. And I have got cheats on now anyway, so I just want to show some more of the levels. Because there are some really nice level designs here. Obviously here you've got the Statue of Liberty in the background on this lift. And again, it is pretty well drawn. It's not on the level of Capcom's Cyberbots, but not many robot-based fighting games, mech-based fighting games are. But, yeah. We will magic. I'm perfect. So there we go. I won this time. I say it's all in Japanese. I don't think there's any English in the ROM, although I've not looked. I'm not aware of an English release. But yeah, I will be cheating a little bit in this one because it just gets boring. Oh, look, we've got dinosaurs. Dinosaurs and robots. The classic combination. Well, look at all the animation in the background. Got a bit of a Triceratops down there, animated, walking along. You've got the pterodactyls in the background flying. There's a lot of work, a lot of detail. Not everything moves, obviously, but it's, you know, you play games from Data East themselves. This is on Data East hardware, but you can play Data East fighting games, and the backgrounds aren't this detailed. Yeah, the presentation value on this is really, really good. I can't comment on the gameplay because I'm terrible at most fighting games and sort of just button mash my way through them, and hence why I put the cheats on. But also, this is one that's quite heavily protected. It's not as heavily protected as Fighter's History, but it's one of those that did benefit when the Data East protections were fully figured out, because there's quite a lot of little checks in the game, and just like Fighter's History, if you miss any of them, bad things happen. Obviously, since Charles McDonald reverse engineered pretty much every possible call response on those chips, we're good for that now. And that was a good 10 years ago now, probably. Again, not just displaying the text, animating the text as it appears. So, row scroll effects, making good use of the hardware it's on. So I don't know if the developers at Hot B ended up somewhere else, or they got developers from somewhere else, because the quality is just that variable. They clearly understood the hardware though, because even on the more basic games, like Super Shanghai, they're making good use of the video effects, the combining two time-up layers to do high depth graphics and things like that that aren't typically used, so they did know what they were doing technically. You think this Shanghai Dragon's Eye and Chuka Taisen are decent? Yeah, Shanghai Dragon's Eye is a decent implementation of Shanghai. Chuka Taisen, I've never really got on with. To me, it's like in Sector X that we looked at the other day. Feels very close, but it's one I might give a try to later on the stream actually, because again, it's not one I've played much of. So maybe I've missed something with it. I do quite like Hangzo, apart from it gets a bit repetitive. That's on the same type of hardware as this, but that wasn't released. And we think that's Hotly anyway. Yeah, line scroll, row scroll effects. The Data East chips could do them natively, so no need for raster effects to them or anything like that. You only need rasters if you want to do more complex effects like Edward Randy does in places, stretching things. But I think it might do that in places, I can't remember. See, portrait, story. And sorry if anybody doesn't like me cheating, but otherwise you're just going to be seeing the same stage over and over again. Similar looking background here, very similar waterline scroll. But big waves. Missiles hitting the water there. Feels like I'm fighting against Red Sonic. It's a Siemens 50. It's just a Siemens and the hit counter. I don't know. Is that the score? No, it's not my score. I don't know what the number is below the name of the enemy then. can air block as well, I think. With the block button. So I probably should be doing that. Yeah, I don't know if there's any English in the ROM. I've not looked for it, but I'm guessing there won't be, because I've never heard of anybody finding English in it or putting up translations or any cutting and floor content mentioning it. Although maybe I just need to look. So I think the block button is important in this. If you don't use block, you just get hit. We're not going to spend too long on it. Let's probably spend another 5 minutes or so. But I wanted to show it off because it is a fighting game that, again, I don't really ever see talked about. And I think there's enough work being put into this one in terms of the presentation that it's definitely worth checking out. I think the Hot B name maybe puts people off. Now an underwater stage. Fish in the foreground, apparently. And a little treasure hunter scuba diver. Ah yes, Taito's Palamates. That is another one I was considering looking at. Very odd gameplay on that one. I won. Good evening, Peter. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining once more. And we are just playing a little bit of Schmeiser Robo with cheats on. Because, you know, why not? Wanted to show off some of the stages and the stage art. Because it has some really good stage art. And animation, to be fair. Overall, it's just a solid looking game. Not sure what all the moves are. I've only really managed to do the one fireball special move. But, there's only 3 buttons though. Maybe that is one of the negatives. A lot of the better fighters are obviously for 6 buttons in the case of Capcom. 3-button fighters are less common. Also the music, I'm enjoying the music, it's very moody. It's kind of Capcom likes in places as well. Tons of work, not sure how you feel about the oddball robots. I mean, there are definitely worse robot-based fighters. For example, one with Rise in the name comes to mind. Right, you can die. I do like cheats where I can just do that. You like this one, Smedis? Or just like the title? Rise of the Robots was a big hoax. It was definitely slightly overhyped. How many more rounds are there? Oh, now we're on an aircraft. No transparencies, but fake transparency on the clouds, the other effects. So yeah, you see we've gone up in the air. Again, we'll end these rounds quite quickly now. We'll just get to the end of the game. You can see what they are. You don't think this one's fun, or you don't think Rise of the Robots is fun, or you don't think my cheating is fun? Do you prefer just to see me fail over and over again? Is that what you're saying? Nope, you die. The name, you're not familiar with the game. I think it's one of Hot B's better efforts. As Aussie Guy was also pretty much agreeing with me on that one. I'm just not bothering to play it properly anymore. I'm just getting through the stages so you can see what the stage is like. Oh look, we've got an intro animation to this stage. Ooh, spooky. Oh, you don't think Rise of the Robots was any fun? No, it really, really wasn't. Oh look, volcano stage. Shiny robot. Look at that nice colour cycle effect. And teleportation. Not a very friendly robot, are you? Yeah. Some of the Hot B NES games have the play instructions on the label. That's one way to do it. Yeah, what I like about this, more than the game, I think, are the visual effects, all the layering, foreground and background sprites, as well as tile layers. There's a lot going on. We are just going to try and get to the end, though. I think this might be the last round. So yeah, I think this is just the end sequence now. We're putting you in the ambulance. Fans of jump kicking are in for a treat this holiday. Probably Rise of the Robot staff. You see, I could put Rise of the Robots on, but then I always have to let YouTube mute the stream afterwards because the music gets flagged up immediately. Nice effects, naff gameplay. So I can't really judge fighting games on the gameplay. I'm not really good enough at any of them to tell you. But I do like to see the effects, the stages, the character designs. Not too big on the story, so I really don't care that I can't read a word of this. But again, it's got a proper ending, all drawn out. You can't question the effort that's been put in. There we go. Some end credits. So, what shall we look at next? I'll have to have a think about that. I can speed through this. I can enter my name. There we go. So that was Schmeiser Robo, and yeah, I think that deserves to be played more than it gets played. It is play the Game Gear version of Rise. Not this time. Maybe on a Bad Ports stream. Sound Mint, Polo Mints. Right. I think Carlo mentioned this one earlier. Let's go for a bit of Century Electronics jank with Cosmos.
Game system operational.
I can't think of any 32-bit Hot B games off the top of my head. So yes, the game system is operational. Now these Century games were very European games, I believe. CVS Century. A very low budget system, which gave us the likes of Hunchback and this. With plenty of slowdowns because the CPU is quite slow. Now, as the guy was saying, some of these Century games didn't make it to Japan, which really amazes me considering how bad most of them are. They do have speech, I'll give them that. Some of them do anyway, some of them don't really use the speech shit. This one obviously likes to tell me I'm getting bonus fuel. But they do all feel like sort of home computer games in the arcades. It's not a Century game unless it has a voice. Yes, I would like the base temperature to cool down a bit. Thank you. Well, that's just freeze enemies for a bit. Doesn't help with my base temperature, that is critical, and goes down far too slowly for its own good. Astro Smash. Is Astro Smash on a different system? I had a game very much like this, and Astro Blaster, and Astro Fantasia, whatever they're called. Astro Fighter, the Data East one. Yeah, but they can rip off of Astro Blaster. Astro Blaster is definitely a better game. Well, you like this one? To be fair, as Century games go, this one isn't terrible. We might see some actual terrible ones later. The temperature does go down far too slowly, though. For a game where you're meant to be shooting things, you do have to not shoot things quite often. Yeah, Astro Blaster. And Tetris have got similar ones. Shoot the fuel. Not collide with it. Imagine if Scramble said bonus fuel every time you bombed a fuel tank. I don't think they did a Scramble rip-off, did they?
Bonus fuel, bonus fuel, bonus fuel. Bonus fuel. Bonus fuel.
The Scramble Hunchback was better. It was a bit faster, I seem to remember, but looked really ugly.
Temperature critical.
Astro Smash was an Intellivision game, quite different to this. I may have played it. Just forgotten about it. Ooh. I'm trying to wait for my base temperature to go down a bit. Game over. So, how many letters do I get? Probably more. It looks like I get a lot of letters because it's tiny text. No, that's wrong. I have to rub end. Oh, no. What am I doing? Oh. Okay, these things on the edge are the rub end buttons, and it's got a little key at the bottom telling you what they are, which is a really strange way to lay out a high score entry table. But again, Century games did have their quirks. There we go. Hey Vimana, welcome from Finland. I think we have one or two other people from Finland sometimes drop by. We get Santari, the previous maintainer of the MAME work in progress page back in the day. And I seem to remember one or two others. So welcome. I hope you're doing well. It's always good to see new faces here. If you've got any games you personally think are not played or talked about very often, then feel free to drop some names if they're arcade games that run in MAME, and I may consider having a look at them. You think I should play Astro Blaster to show the similarities? I mean, Astro Blaster itself isn't that played that often these days, so maybe I should show it, yes. So yeah, let's look at Astro Blaster briefly then, because we didn't spend long on that, and I think Astro Blaster does tend to get a little bit overlooked. But you see, you've got your temperature, you've got your fuel. The layout's a bit different. The patterns are a bit different. Yeah, we are running at full speed still. I know the discrete sound emulation in this is quite demanding. But this even has the speech just like the Century game. It's one of your favourites, is it, Stephen? Yeah, I mean, it's not one I've really ever saw the arcade version of, and I don't think I've ever actually seen the arcade of it, even today. But it's definitely one I've played plenty of clones of. But yes, you see, this is what Century were aiming for. Including telling you when the temperature is critical. This is a bit more moody with the sound effects. And you see, the warp is the same slowdown you get in the other game. Looks like the last game, but good. I think I have to shoot those ones for fuel, just like in the other game. Except now the little asteroids are tiny See, when it tells you extra fuel, just like the previous game, when you shoot the fuel, it tells you get extra fuel, and then you get the dog sequence, just like the previous game. So yeah, essentially we're let's put it kindly, copying the idea of this. You played this back in Blackpool back in the day. There definitely wasn't one at play when I was in Blackpool for that, unfortunately. At least I didn't see one. I didn't see one running if they had one, but I don't think they did. But you see, yeah, it's very similar. I think the Century game's a reasonable clone of this. But this is obviously the original, the classic, and the better game. This got the sound emulation in MAME, I think, last year from Aaron, which is why it now has all the discrete sound effects emulated without samples, which does shoot up the requirements a bit, but it sounds really nice. Hot B, now Astro B. Yes, definitely related. There is a little more speech in this than there was in the previous game. This actually tells you how many ships you've got remaining and the like. But so this was Sega, and Cosmos was Century. Yeah, there's a lot of engine sounds and hums. They do add to the mood, and a lot of that I think is the discrete sound that was recently emulated. It does feel like you're on board, you know, the deck of a ship, and there's all these things going on around you. And so this low hum when you're going through this asteroid field, it really creates a good mood. Yeah. I mean, the speech sounds like a lot of other speech. You can identify, you know, the typical speech synth sounds, but it does fit really well with the game. The futuristic theme, space theme. It is sort of the computer voice of the 80s. You see there's lots of different ways of enemies too, with their own graphics, own movement patterns. You can see why this was considered a classic, and I think it is one that does get overlooked these days. I don't see many people talking about it. It's not one people go, oh, I must play that game. It's sort of just fallen out of mainstream popularity, I think. I probably should have gone backwards. Strange way to do the high score name, I have to say. But there we go. Gremlin Sega Astro Blaster. There's your title page. Fade to blue. The problem is with the sound mix on this one, the explosions tend to be really loud, so if I turn the sound mix up, it drowns everything else out, including me. It's a difficult one to get right, but I don't think Gorf is really lesser played. People still remember Gorf and talk about it a bit more. I don't know why, because Gorf is a bit of a rip-off of lots of different ideas. The speech is not correct. You wonder if the speech is not correct on some other games emulated by MAME. I don't think every game has perfect speech emulation, although some of them are pretty good these days. Things like Berserk is very accurate to the arcade. There's always room for improvements. The Wizard of War improvements recently and the Gorf improvements from last year really helped those ones. They sound great now. I did play Wizard of War on a stream not long ago, and it sounded really quite nice. Anyway, shall we continue with looking for games? Ones say a lot of these don't get played very often, so I'm trying to pick interesting ones. Let's go with a Taito one. This is Taito's Jolly Jogger, which visually is very similar to Data East's Disco Number 1, or Sweetheart as it's also known, but this is more of an Amidar type game. Yeah, Wizard of War sounds really good these days, or at least to my ears. The only issue really with Wizard of War is the original cabinet had 3 speakers, And so ideally you'd want it coming out 3 speakers, and MAME only supports either mono or stereo, so the centre speaker, which is the speech, gets mixed to both side channels. But it still sounds pretty good, and it's a big improvement on what it used to be. So I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit now, because maybe we are a bit low in general. Oopsie. But this, to me, is possibly one of those that gets overlooked and not played very often for a reason. You have to change too many tiles. You know, you've got a big maze. And the other thing, this is one of those games that feels to me like it could be an unreleased game, because there's not much content. I think it just loops about 2 different patterns or 3 different patterns. Now, if you circle the pink ones, you get power up briefly. Yeah, now I do a rip-off. You have to circle the pink ones to get your power up. So you see, I do that, and then suddenly I can go and chase them down. But there are just too many tiles to cover. It's like a mix of Amador and Data East's, say, Disco number 1, including the whole heart theme around the edges, and I don't know. It feels a little derivative of both of those. Even the way your character dances, again, is very like Disco number 1. You're dancing around, you're drawing lines. In that case, you're drawing lines trying to circle things, which is a better game mechanic. No, it doesn't have the best sounds. I mean, it's just an AY chip, which obviously we know from things like the Spectrum, the AY chips can produce some fantastic music. But in arcades, the AY chips just often got underused. I can't think of any great arcade chips using arcade tunes using just the AY. Whereas on our home systems, we just had so many great tunes using the AY. It's one of those strange, mismatches in how technology was used. There we go. I've drawn a beetle. Now it gets coloured in. Yeah, clearing a stage takes longer than Junior Pac-Man. And that's the problem. I think there are only like 2 different stage designs or 3 different stage designs. So now we get a face, a head, with ponytails. If you do it as efficiently as you can, which just means weaving up and down more or less, it might be a bit quicker, but you do still have to avoid the enemies. So not every game you play is going to be great. I'm just focusing on games that I've not really ever spent much time with. Some of those are games, like this one, well, I've spent 5 minutes with it and gone, that doesn't really have anything to offer, and just moved on. And I'm always open to the idea that I've overlooked something with these games, and there's some hidden depth to the gameplay that I haven't seen. But Gyrus did have good music, yeah. Yeah, that's the idea of Vimana. I'm trying to play, say, the more obscure ones. The ones that I know are there, but don't really ever see anybody cover or put in lists. I mean, some of them will be fairly well-known games. We looked at some quite well-known games yesterday, but they're not always ones I've played much of. I do wish Oh Mummy had an arcade release. That was one of my favourites around the Squares games. But, yeah, for a Taito game, this is rather average. Considering, Taito are known for their good ideas, original ideas, this doesn't really have that. Oh dear. That wasn't very clever. Game over. Sabaton Bombers or Riot? I mean, I've played quite a lot of Sabaton Bombers and Riot, so they don't really meet my criteria of games I've not spent much time with. Although, yeah, Riot does tend to get overlooked. Riot is a really good one. I think that can be hidden. Apparently we have our first spammer. So, yeah, Jolly Jogger. Quite an average game. If you arcade had Amadar, you were probably just going to play Amadar instead. Assuming this got released, because it is very light on content. But I thought it was worth having a look at it. So, where next? Let's go with a more modern one, actually. Now, I find this one fascinating because this is Logic Pro Adventure, a Japanese release by Amuse World. And if you know the history of the Logic Pro games, you'll know that the first two Logic Pro games run on Debenham's System 16C type board, which is basically a knockoff of System 16 hardware. And they're a Korean developer, and they cloned the System 16 hardware and put some of their own games on it, including the first two Logic Pro games. But then you've got this one, which is Logic Pro Adventure, which runs on PlayStation type hardware. Taito did put out a lot of interesting games, yeah. I guess they weren't afraid to try different things, and some of them just didn't work, but they put them out anyway. Reminds you of Kicks. Yeah, without the freedom to draw your own lines, Big Jord. And yeah, I think Gyrus has fully emulated the sounds. Hey Andrea, welcome, thank you for joining. Potential overlooked games from Stephen Brown. Demon's World, Frogs, Gunsmoke, Jackal, Quasar and Rolling Thunder. I'd say Rolling Thunder 2 rather than the original Rolling Thunder. Jackal maybe? I'm not sure. I mean, they're not always all ones I'd consider myself, but everybody's going to have a different opinion on this. I mean, I'd say that Gunsmoke was incredibly popular, aside from maybe that version that was dumped recently where they had the robots instead of the, well, everybody was made to look like a robot so you weren't killing humans. The version that was likely for Germany. So this is a puzzle game. It tells you how many squares you can cross out in each line, and you have to choose the ones that are like. It's a bit like Minesweeper, but not Minesweeper. So in this one, there's a row of 3, then there's a row of 2, and there's a row of 1. And this one, I think there's a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1. Is this a 5 and a 1? So I think I can go like that. Maybe. So it's. So there's a 1 and then there's a 3. So I think we're good with that, and then we can clear that. So I think that's 3 there. Can't conclude anything on that yet. Yeah, it's I'm not very good at it. See, that was a 7 and a 2, so that one's solved for me. It's a 2-4, but that's a 4 at the end, so we know those are 4 there. We know that one should be safe, but we don't know where the 1 is. This is a 1 and a 6, so... Ooh, I don't know how to... Maybe I'm wrong. There was a version of Commando with aliens, yes. My IQ is 0. That probably makes sense. So 1, 3, and... Hey, WWS. The numbers... Oh, the numbers are the blank spaces. Ah. Okay. That will be where I'm going wrong then. I'm getting my logic wrong on this one, and I'm failing, look. So, yeah, I'm playing it wrong. So maybe if I try and play it correctly, so the numbers are the blank spaces. So a 2 there. Then there's a blank space of 1. Is there? The obscure Japanese game where your character ate everything. I'm assuming we're not talking Kirby because that's not obscure. So yeah, I could just brute force my way through the level and continue lots because I don't know how to play this game. But yeah, it's an odd choice for an arcade game, but it is the sequel to. So yeah, the 3 is the 3, then the 2, then a 1. Or the, yeah, so it does tell you. So that's going to be like that, I guess. So that like that. There we go. I have worked out the pattern. Picross, a nonogram. Yeah, it's an interesting concept for an arcade game. I thought, you know, I got confused. I thought the numbers were the places you weren't meant to do, not the places you were. So in this case, there are no things. So I guess the whole line here is like this. Is that right? There are 0 blank spaces. So yeah, and I solved that, so I get a green in that space. In this case, there's 7 blank spaces. So this is all going to be blank spaces. So yeah, and this is all going to be blank spaces. And this level's easier than the first level, I think. Maybe. So you get 1 blank space in there, you get 3 in there. You get 9 in a row in there. How many other? So there's 10 in total, so there's 1 on. You get the idea anyway. You solve each line. But yeah, I'm not very good at that, but it's a good arcade game, I think, if you like your puzzle games and you want to spend time solving them and you find that relaxing. But I think it gets overlooked. For a long time that did lock up in a track mode in MAME, and now apparently it doesn't. It seems to run fine without locking up. So if you played it a long time ago, maybe you would have been put off if it just sort of locked up your machine. If you left it too long, and immediately credit it. But these days it seems fine, and it's visually quite an improvement on the original 2 Logic Pro games. So if that's your thing and you've not played that version, I'd recommend it. I mean, I say I'm not really in the mindset of solving puzzles right now, but it's a good one, I think. Anyway, I think I'm going to go with an obscure Sega game now. One I have played on stream before, but one that's always worth covering because it does just get overlooked. And this is Bullet, which is a dual stick game for 3 players. So this had 3 dual joystick setups on the cabinet. It's in 2-player mode at the moment, but you can enable 3-player mode. So this is actually one of the rarest System 16 games. You go to these platforms and you build at your arms. See, each one will upgrade you slightly, and it charges the meter at the bottom there. But they only charge up to a certain point. Then you have to move on. And it's deceptively simple. But again, it's like a scrolling Robotron type game. And don't just walk into bullets. That's not why it's called bullets. You're not meant to collect the bullets. I don't know why this one is so obscure. Because, you know, if you want a really good Sega System 16 game, this is a go-to game. And I guess it didn't leave Japan, which doesn't help matters. But it is much, much better than a lot of the other games on the platform. Wasn't one of the things from that Nintendo leak some Picross or Picross game that hadn't been released? So you have to get close enough to the base to shoot it. And obviously if you powered yourself up in the level, it's a lot easier. And I don't think any continues, so if you mess up, there you go. I can complete the first level. I can get quite far in this sometimes when I'm playing it well. You heard these were converted to Tetris. Oh dear. That wouldn't be very good gaming, how YouTube think. I mean, I know Tetris was hugely popular, but this is a unique and interesting game. With its complete... Say, I can't think of any other 3-player twin-stick shooters either. You have 6 joysticks on the cabinet for this thing. So a real waste converting them to Tetris. It does suffer from a little bit too much slowdown. And so I'm not very good at it anymore, apparently. So you can take different routes to the exit too, the end boss. It's not 100% linear in the path you have to take. If you know where the paths are, you can aim for them and maybe do a bit better than if you just skip them. You say the playfield, you do have to go to the same endpoint, but you have a little flexibility in doing it, especially on some of the later stages. So I don't think it's super obscure because it's a Sega game, but it still is not common. It's one of the encrypted ones too, so in many senses we're probably lucky it's emulated. You know, there was every chance these things could have died and taken their encryption keys with them had it not been for some incredibly talented people and Sega stupidly using pseudo-random number generator for the keys. The Game Boy Picross was and SNES Super Mario Picross were developed by Ape, now Creatures, and Jupiter for Nintendo. Yeah, I think it is one of those things that was on the Nintendo systems, and I didn't really grow up with the Nintendo system, so I didn't get exposed to it. Obviously, I didn't even see Logic Pro in the arcades either. You see, the downside, maybe the weaker point of this game are the bosses. They're all kind of similar. But it's pushing a lot of sprites for a System 16 game. Skeletons should have been on Halloween stream. Minecart, a little bit Indiana Jones. Ooh. I'm adding sound effects. Fortunately, yeah, if you get hit, you do end up losing. You find it too repetitive. It's no more repetitive than, say, Robotron, and it moves around, and it's about positioning yourself and getting on the pads and defending your position. Yeah, maybe it lacks a bit of content, a bit of variety, but I don't think it really harms the game. But clearly it can't have done too well back in the day. You do have to get quite near the edge. I mean, it's not as bad as some games I've played. I was trying to play an Amstrad CPC game with one of the Gauntlet clones. I can't remember what it was called. But you literally scroll the screen on the last tile before the edge. You can't see anything. And you're wondering how anybody ever thought that was acceptable. I mean, I don't mind push scrollers, but yeah, you do have to give the player some room to see what's coming. Otherwise, they're just going to run into traps, run into walls, run into enemies. In this case, you've got about a quarter of the screen. I don't think it's the worst offender for that. That's just opinion, obviously. Now, I don't know why a lot of these Sega games have black where you'd expect white to be. For example, the text there. You'd expect the highlights to be white, but they're black. And Action Fighter does it on a few things as well, but it is correct to hardware. Look, it doesn't play like Game Ground, but visually, yeah, a little bit. I mean, Game Ground's more of a strategy game. Were you here when I played Field Combat the other day as well? That plays kind of similar to Game Ground in the strategic aspect of not just being a plain shooter. This is a plain shooter, really. There's no strategy here. It's an action game through and through. But I get what you mean with the visuals, though. Aside from not being, high-res System 24. But yeah, this would kind of fit with a lot of System 24 games. Anyway, when I die this time, we'll move on. I'll try to find something a bit more obscure next. Yeah, Game Ground is fantastic. I mean, it's not a traditional arcade design, but many of the System 24 games weren't. I mean, Crackdown's not a traditional arcade game either. You're going around the maze, you're planting bombs. I think, and Bonanza Brothers, obviously, you steal them up. They're very creative ideas, and maybe the floppy disk system gave Sega a bit more freedom to experiment, as it was lower cost, but then things like Bonanza Brothers used ROM too, so kind of negated that benefit. I don't know. Anyway, I think I've failed again. Oh, not quite yet, but I've been crowded out. Yeah, I'm not going to... Yeah. Oh, Calorie Kun versus Mogurian. Yeah, I played that one on stream before, Vimana. That is an odd one with the... launching missiles against bits of wall. I remember that when that one first got decrypted, actually. I think there was a bootleg set that ran before that, and it turned out that the bootleg set was identical once decrypted. But yeah, that's a very curious one. I didn't put it on the list this time, but I have played it before. So I'm going to put on a game that I've no idea how to play. This is Taxi Driver from Graphic Techno. One Aussie guy's mentioned a few times, actually. But I've tried to play this several times, and at no point have I managed to work out what to do. Join 'em. Yeah, Join 'em is a bit easy, is the problem with Join 'em. I don't know if it's by the same developers as the terrible Lover Boy. It feels very similar, though. And also Mr. Pooh shares a lot of code with Join 'em. So, yeah, you're driving a taxi. I worked out that much. And it's very slow. And there's a map. And you can drive straight into the water. And there's a penal, not a penalty. And there's hazards that aren't on the map. Tetris Overshadowed Bullet. I guess it's like that's the Street Fighter 2 situation then, where a game just was so much more popular that everybody forgot the better game. We may play some Tetris games in a bit. Did I just say Mr. Pooh? Maybe I did, but obviously I mean Uncle Pooh. But maybe I know him as Mr. Pooh. So, yeah. So, apart from being a taxi and driving around and having rocks in the road like Rally X and having fuel stops and being able to slow down, I can drive around it. But... So, I'm going to pick you up. Do you not want a taxi? Oh, I can... What? Oh, now I apparently... See, now I have somebody in my taxi, but I crashed my taxi. And also, I don't know where they want to go. The games are meant to explain themselves. You have to be in exactly the right place to pick them up. Exactly the right place. But where does she want to go? I mean, it doesn't tell me. There's nothing on the map. I'm just driving around with somebody in my car. I mean, is this a stop here? It's got an S. Doesn't want to get out there. It's an okay game, but what do I do? This says goal. Is this where I'm meant to be? She's gonna get out of here. Doesn't want to get out of here. Yeah, it is. It's not a good game, is it? I don't know if the emulation's missing something. Like, are there meant to be lights on the cabinet that tell you where to go? Is there something missing from the radar display? Are you just meant to learn it? Doesn't impress me much either. The game... I feel like there's either something wrong with the emulation or I'm missing something. Because, you know, if you're driving a taxi, somebody's going to tell you where they want to go. That's why Crazy Taxi works. You pick somebody up, they tell you where they want to go, and you take them there. This game, you pick somebody up and don't have a clue what you're doing. It's a poorly run town with flooding. It is rather, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, let's not play Taxi Driver. That one I think doesn't get played for good reason. So unless there is an emulation issue, yeah, don't think I've got anything else to say about that one, to be honest. See, my issue here is there's a lot of these games that I've played on other streams, and I kind of want to play the ones that I haven't. But then I never remember which ones I have and haven't. So that rules out a lot of games that are maybe quite good. I know one I have played before, and I will play again, which just goes against what I said, and that is Megadon by Epos. We played an Epos game yesterday. We played Igmo, and they're very distinctive in their style, aren't they? Yeah, the terrible Erg and baby Erg. Worthless, destructive, indestructible. I don't know. What a great attack mode. Hey, Shidovan. Thank you for joining. I hope I got that right. I probably didn't, but I'm really bad with names. It's the terrible Erg. This is Megadon. And it is that shooter where your bullets bounce off everything and then become your own worst enemy. So, you know, it's not the enemy bullets you have to be careful of, it's your own. Oh, I did. I'm quite glad about it because I do struggle with this. Welcome, thank you for joining. Yeah, this is one of those that I find addictive. Like, again, even though I played it on stream before, I can't recall anybody else playing it. Also, the volume is very loud. I can see that right now in my meters. This is one of those turn the volume down games. Yes, IG mode does have the right colours these days, Gaming Hell YouTube. I think one of the things that this always reminds me of Berserk, maybe Frenzy with the bouncing bullets, but I was, oh yeah, and the explosions kill you. I was never a fan of Frenzy. I didn't think it was an improvement on Berserk, but this I kind of like for reasons I can't really quantify. Yeah, the Epos games tend to have this information screen and these sort of psychedelic effects in places. They're sort of low-budget Williams in some sense. There is an Epos game that is unfortunately not dumped yet, where they only dump is bad, and that is Catapult. I'd love to know what Catapult's actually meant to be and find a complete, if somebody find a PCB and dump it properly. But maybe that will never happen. But yes, the Catapult dumping MAME has a bad ROM. So it doesn't run. I kind of want it to be a game about cats rather than a game about catapults, but who knows. And it even has, say, that character that comes after you, just like Otto in Berserk. Global Corp Games join them. Loverboy, Uncle Poo. Is Loverboy really a Japanese game? I thought that was too crude and awful to be a Japanese game. I mean, Loverboy is one that will probably get your YouTube account banned if you try and play it. That was almost a double KO. Now, as we started this last time, the counter at the top is the number of shots you can have on screen at once, which is a strange thing to tell you, but also useful. You can have 6 shots on screen at once. Yeah, I talked about that yesterday. I was expecting Igmo to have sort of purple water or something like that, but it actually looks quite earthly apart from the actual creatures. Ooh. You need to see the info screen again. I'll let it show next time I game over. So I'm not going to spend too long on this because I have played it before. But it's a fast-paced game. It'll eat your credit really quickly if you're not very good at it. But you do enjoy playing it, is what I found with this one. You added a nice homebrew with the cycle with the subtitle Storming the Cat Soul. If I need cat games with cat puns. I may do. I might have to look up some cat games up. Obviously we've got Magical Cat Adventure, but there aren't that many. Puzzly 2. Upoko. Did I do a cat stream before? I can't remember. What emulation products do I like? I'm kind of impressed with the FPGA stuff. I'm not so impressed that so much of it's kind of commercial, but in terms of the research being done, I think that's really important to follow. If you count that as emulation, personally I do, some people don't. You're still doing your own implementation of the logic, so to me it's still emulation, even if it's in hardware. But other people might disagree. Yeah, so this is an Epos thing. I mean, Epos did Super Glob as well, and they have that style. And Super Glob, the Glob is a really good game too. Revenger is a little bit similar to this one from memory. They've got a D, the poker game, which is just dull, but interesting little company, Epos. A cats versus dog stream, that's a possibility. Yeah, you just find a lot of details, and a lot of that gets fed back into MAME, which is the good side of things. So, MAME helps them, they help MAME, and it's all good. I'd say I think it goes a bit against the culture MAME established of, doing things for free because it's an important cause, but then again, a lot of the research and the boards are really expensive these days, so it kind of makes sense that people are having to pay for, get money for them. I was talking about that Nunchaku game, and I'm pretty sure the colour problems we've got are bad for that, even though they may have come from the actual board. But it may have been a bootleg conversion. So, nudity, no. This was a recently dumped game, like last year, I think. This is Gemcrush, a prototype. It's not especially good. It's also very quiet. But we'll have a look at it. I mean, this one ends up on the list because it's a recent dump, so not many people are going to talk about it. And also probably because it's just not very good. Okay, still quite quiet. This might get super loud when I coin it up. It's just got awful audio. Can you plug ScumVM? It is kind of emulation. You could technically write a CPU core for Scum in MAME if you wanted. I think somebody tried to do Another World as a CPU core. So, yeah, this is a very basic breakout type game that uses a joystick, not a paddle. It's a fairly recent jump, it's a prototype. You turn the bat upside down, apparently you get this charge shot, which doesn't seem like the most useful mechanic. And the music seems like somebody just hammered on some keys for a while and called it a day. You can kind of see why this one doesn't get played, you can kind of see why this one didn't get released. And yes, the audio is apparently just as bad on the PCB. Not sure what they were going for. Yeah, this was 96 apparently. And, it does have adult content if you turn nudity on, so I guess maybe that's the only thing it had going for it. This mechanic where you catch the ball and fire it straight back up is sort of a bit different. Not many games have that. Catch is usually a power up. There's a timer, but last seconds. Pinball type display at the top. They had some ideas. Fancy little fonts. It kind of reminds me of sort of the Exoplanning games a little bit. Riddle Pythagoras. In terms of they've got custom fonts and wanted to make it look pretty while doing an 8-bit game, but it sort of just fails. You don't mind calling it emulation. So to me it's always been closely related at least. It's just a high level emulation if anything. I mean, that's probably maybe the best way to describe it, high level emulation. If you look at things like how the Alpha CPU was emulated back in the day, we emulated the virtual CPU even though that is implemented on an MCU itself. So there are different ways to consider emulation. Can I destroy these ones? Probably not. Nope. I mean, it's a language. You run the language. It's just a higher level language than the raw machine code assembly. I mean, the Flash emulator I'd still call an emulator that re-implements Flash. Even though you could just call it a Flash interpreter. Yeah, I saw the Macromedia Director support thing as well. I don't know exactly what used Macromedia Director, but I'm sure plenty did. But yeah, if we're talking breakout games worth playing, I think the OO parts, the Sega prototype that was dumped, even though it has the wrong sound ROM, is a far more interesting game than this. Loverboy was banned in most countries. That doesn't surprise me. The boards we've seen have all been in Italy. But yeah, a game where you basically score points for, well, something that obscene is not good. A bit like this isn't very good. I think we'll move on from Gemcrush. I think we can see why Gemcrush doesn't really get played much. I'm going to go with a Nam. Actually, no. I know what I'm going to do. I was going to say Namco game, but now I know that to run Cube Quest I have to specify pre-scale 1, not 4, which I use for its default. Let's have a look at Cube Quest, a Laserdisc game. The cubic history. Obviously there's no filter on this because it doesn't really play nicely with the filters. It's a trackball. I'm going to play it on a keyboard, so wish me luck. Anyway, let's coin it up. If it's too loud, let me know. I did have to turn up the previous game and it looks like it might be quite loud. Yeah, it looks a little loud, so I'm just going to turn it down slightly. So this is one of the few games I feel actually makes good use of Laserdisc technology. It actually has a real game and then just uses the Laserdisc to enhance it. It gives it these fancy backgrounds. But you can play this without the Laserdisc, it's still a playable shooter. But you don't get these rather trippy, psychedelic looking backgrounds. There might be a few loud sounds in this. It's meant to be very moody, much like Astro Blaster was actually. Now we'll fly through the shapes. Or not, if you're as bad at the game as I am. I'm just going to blame the controls. Yeah, and polygons. It's a real game. Most Laserdisc games aren't. I know Star Rider was mentioned previously in the chat before the stream started by Carlo, and yeah, that'd be a nice one to emulate once you know the Doomsday Project is integrated with MAME and there are proper rips of it, and obviously emulation of the system too, because it's not actually emulated yet. Well, I did well. Yeah, this is the closest to Polybius that, or Polybus, or however you want to pronounce it, that there ever was. It's a very trippy game from around that period. Obviously, that thing is just a myth, but if there was ever a game that was that game, this is probably your number one contender. Here we go, triangular patterns this time. Reminds me a bit of things like Silpede for the polygon shooter aspect. A little bit Tempest too, but it's got its own style. Yeah, a little bit like Tempest. Now this one, I think, look at these faces. I think this one maybe doesn't get played much in MAME because it's one of the CHD games that requires like a 10 gig CHD for the Laserdisc background. And that's probably going to be small compared to the properly ripped Laserdiscs we get with the Doomsday Project. But when this was added, that was rather big. These days 10 gig is nothing, but at the time it was a lot. These days you get games that are like over 100 gig PC games. I've seen the Loki TV show. They show a polybus. I don't know how to say it. Cabinet. I know Ashton's did his movie based on the whole urban legend, whatever you want to call it. But no, it wasn't a real game. This was a real game, and apparently this was a massive flop in the arcades, which is a shame because it is one of the few Laserdisc games that actually make you think Laserdisc technology could have been useful, rather than the nonsense like Dragon's Lair, which really was not a game at all. Yeah, this is probably the best real life equivalent of Smedis. Just look how trippy some of these visuals are. But you couldn't do this without the Laserdisc. But the Laserdisc doesn't define the gameplay, and that's what's good about it. It's just a background. It's just a shooter with better backgrounds. You could do Gyrus like this, for example. In fact, this is kind of similar to Gyrus in some ways, and a little bit Star Warsy as well. Finding the gaps in these polygons. Obviously, this is actual shaded, not vector. It just combines many elements of good games, and it is genuinely a good experience. But yeah, Laserdisc games in MAME can be a bit annoying though, as I found with this one. BGFX, I get no Laserdisc video, and Direct 3D works as long as you disable prescale, otherwise it just leaves trails everywhere, which makes it even more trippy but unplayable. I did try to play this yesterday but failed because I didn't know why it was failing. You love watching other people lose their money on Dragons there. But yeah, so I don't want to spend too long on this one because sometimes these Laserdisc games do cause copyright issues when the video clips get identified. I don't think this one does, but things like Firefox and Us versus Them, and I think the car one, that does. But I think Cube Quest you're generally okay with. But yeah, that was Cube Quest, the one that I failed to play yesterday, and it is a good, fun game. Yeah, it must have been really expensive and taken a ridiculous amount of time to render them, and it makes it even more impressive. It holds up. Most of the Laserdisc games don't hold up, but that one does hold up like a good classic movie, even though it failed at the time. It's kind of odd to think about it. So where shall we go next? Okay, let's look at one that runs a bit slowly, and I'm going to have to undercut the CPU to try and resolve that, but it still doesn't work very well. Slider controls. CPU down to 70%. Now I'm not going to play much of this because it's not running at full speed, and even then it doesn't feel like it's full speed. But there were some improvements to the emulation of this. So apparently this is really loud. It doesn't sound loud, but it's probably making a mess of the audio. There were some emulation improvements to this one in the last year or two, which mean it does now have the sound and can be controlled. But it's one of those cases where you really realise that MAME needs an ARM recompiler, because this is a mere, well, I've underclocked it, so it's 37 now, but it's about 50 megahertz ARM, and it struggles to run at full speed. Us versus Them, yeah, that's another one they probably get copyright issues. But this is Tetris Fighters, which kind of feels like a sequel to Final Tetris. It's not, but it feels like one. But it's got a great selection of characters. You've got Do Nuts, you've got Cookie Girl, you've got Tyson, you've got The X, Frankie, Love, Alcohol Man, and Chicken Alien. By Sego. Not Sega, Sego. And now there's no E on the end of alcohol, it's just Alcohol Man. But yeah, it's Tetris, and it doesn't run well. So we won't spend long on it because it sounds terrible and runs badly. But I think most people don't know that you can actually play this one now. It doesn't play well. It needs a lot of work, but you can play it. The controls work and it has sound. So you can get an idea of what it was meant to be. Beyond that, no, this stream wasn't meant to show off broken games. I may do another badly emulated stream, work in progress stream. But yeah, you use these balls to build up the attack meter. You can change attack types, so which one that you're building towards is the one that is highlighted. And when you get enough balls in your lines, you will use the attack on the enemy, which is a little bit different to the way the attack mechanic works on most Tetris games. So yeah, I'm not going to say this is great or you should go out and play this. I'm just saying there's been some progress over the years that may have been missed on this one. So it gets overlooked because A, it's not working properly, and B, most people aren't going to have seen the progress. So you see I'm building up this bar in the top corner. And I don't know if this has got any inappropriate content because I've never played it for that long, but apparently I've won anyway. I didn't get a chance to build my attack, I just won. So I could just drop the pieces more quickly using the second button. Apologies for the bad sound, I am aware of it. It isn't running at full speed. But yeah, if MAME had an ARM recompiler, this would probably run at full speed quite easily, or maybe just optimizations of the ARM core, I don't know. 50 megahertz seems quite low to not be getting full speed, to be honest. But there may be reasons for that. I know you can run the 68K at something like 200 before you get any issues. They've attacked me. Yeah, the sound is coming up really high in the meter on OBS to the point where it should be drowning me out, but I think it's some sort of DC offset because it's actually really quiet. I don't know. Again, that's probably an emulation issue. Maybe I am the alcohol man, who knows. But it's got an interesting style to it. It'd be nice to see some progress on this, say a recompiler, make it run a bit faster, but who knows. I'm not aware of anything in the pipeline along those lines. But I'm also not aware of everything. But yeah, let's just... I don't need a final round. I just suicided on purpose. I lose. There we go. GOG released Blade Runner with Scum VM, so it might be properly implemented. I don't know. I've never tried playing it. Companies sometimes release things that don't work properly. But yes, Thomas might know. Yes, it does look like a 2000s 3D. But apologies, I appear to have lost my voice slightly. Check and Pop. I don't think it was really popular outside of Japan. It's on all those Dream Gear plug and plays, my arcades, the NES bootleg ones, under a different name. So it's probably quite well known these days for people who bought those. But otherwise, I don't know. It's not a popular game. It's not a very arcadey arcade game. It's one you really have to learn and take time to study and strategic. I'm going to look at this one now because I don't think I can play it easily. This is Team Hat Trick by Bally Sente in '85. Now, a lot of people really like Hat Trick. the ice hockey game. But they don't seem to be aware that Team Hat Trick is dumped. This is the 4-player version of Hat Trick. And obviously I don't have 4 people to play it with, so I'm just going to be playing as 1 player. Exodus, I think that was quite popular here because it even ended up with the magnet system version. But you see, this is a 4-player Hat Trick, and I am one of the blue players. I'm also the goalie, so you know I can stop the ball puck going in. Sego only made 1 game, which was Tetris Fighters. That doesn't really surprise me. I don't think it was ever going to be the biggest hit in the world. Yeah, a lot of people really like Hat Trick. I mean, it's never a game that's actually appealed to me that much. But then again, ice hockey as a whole doesn't appeal to me that much. And I suppose it's one of those games that is best experienced with more than 1 person. And in this case, 4 people, if you happen to have 3 friends. As opposed to no friends. Well, no friends who want to play old games. It may just be my control. See, I'm not even in control of that one that has the puck right now. I don't know. No, I don't know why they spin around. I guess it's called a celebration. Now, I think the thing people remember about this game is much like Hit the Ice and other ice hockey games. It does leave trails in the ice. But yeah, the AI is doing more than I am. I am just sort of sitting back. I'm playing defense, I think. I'm just letting the AI do the attacking. Maybe that's why it's team. Maybe I'm letting the team down if I go too far forward. It's now overtime. It's 3-3. Go score. Score, computer. Score. Game over. It ended in a draw. Although I made more saves, but that counts as nothing. Yeah, this is where you need some kind of net play, and then you got the little thing that clears the ice. I can't remember what it's called. I should remember the name, but it's got one of those that wipes off all your trails. It's got a bit of character. I mean, apart from Snacks and Jackson, I'm not that keen on any of the Bally Sente games. But people do like Hat Trick, and say this is a 4-player version. If you've got 3 friends, you might want to play this one and have an actual blast with them. If you can get actually 3 other people to come over and 3 other gamepads attached to a PC and MAME and Zamboni, that's the one. It's such an American word. It sounds like an American word. Maybe it's not an American word, but it sounds like such a sort of 90s, 2000s trying to be cool word. I always forget it. It's probably like Italian now or something, isn't it? But I don't know. Anyway, that was Team Hat Trick, and yeah, it gets a little bit overlooked. I don't know why. It's not set as a clone. It's set as its own parent, so you can find it in the list easily. But maybe people who enjoy those games stopped paying attention to MAME long ago. That is always a possibility. It's the inventor's last name. Ah, okay, that kind of makes sense. It's one of those that doesn't stick in my mind at all. But yes, right. Where shall we go next? I'm going to go with a Korean game. I can't really doing a bit of this because Korean games do get overlooked. And this is New Crosspang. Now this one, there may be emulation issues because the controls are incredibly unresponsive, which is quite a big issue. Sometimes you have to press a button 2 or 3 times for it to respond. But this is New Crosspang, which is sequel to Crosspang. It runs on Hyperstone-based hardware. And I want to like it apart from this control issue. Sente was formed as Vidya in '82 by former Torii employees, and it was bought by Nolan Bushell and made a division of his Pizza Time Theatre Company in '83. It was acquired by Bally Midway in '84. I think Gridley shows Vidya, doesn't it? Is this the one with the terrifying faces? It may have terrifying faces. It has a terrifying pre-rendered model on the side of the screen. But should we go hard? Let's go in hard. So I'm going to move that out of the way. Let's put that there. So you're trying to make lines of 4 or more. See, this is what I mean though. Sometimes you have to bash the buttons, otherwise they just don't work. But what I really like is how all the pieces animate. There's so much going on the screen for a simple little puzzle game of moving pieces. Select. Move. I think it must be an emulation issue because, say, the controls are super unresponsive. Even though this game seems to be running at full speed with no problems. It might be a Hyperstone timer thing if the timers aren't running it properly. But I don't really know. Hard isn't messing around, is it? I zap everything. If you hold the button down for a little while, you kind of use it. Can I move that? Yeah. Hey, fellow Jasper, welcome. I think it's been a while since you dropped in, but thank you for dropping in once more. It's always good to see you. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, as long as it's a clear path where you want to move your piece to, you can move it. If there isn't, and things will appear all the time to block your path, then you can't move it. It does tell you where things are going to appear by the outlines of the pieces. But I've played a similar game, or maybe pretty much the same game in a plug and play too. So it's clearly a concept that is known and probably well liked. I don't know what that does. Although I probably shouldn't mess around with it because I'm losing precious time. Precious moments. So sometimes you overshoot as well. It feels like it's probably reading the controls in a timer interrupt that is not firing in sync with everything else and sometimes gets missed. That's the best way I can explain it. At the same time, I do like the idea. I love how cute it is. While also hating the fact that I'm really struggling. Yeah, I can't do much now.
Damn, I'm good.
That was an odd sound effect for failing. So apparently this is stage 21, which is where you start if you decide to go the route of starting on hard. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, that was Duke Nukem sound effect, wasn't it? That was Duke Nukem. For some reason they've sampled Duke Nukem. Why would it say, damn, I'm good, when you just failed, though? Well, apparently I've got a circle of eating things. The original Crosspang has a lot less going on, but that was 68K based. This is Hyperstone based. So I guess they had more CPU power here, and also more sprites. That wasn't what I was trying to do. You really have to plan your moves and not just move the first thing that comes to mind in any given situation.
Warning! Warning!
What are you warning me? No, I was trying to do.
Damn, I'm good.
Anyway. Yeah, I think that would have been better, Bob. New Cross Pank. I think it's a good game in here. But I'm guessing people don't play it because this control issue probably puts them off. And having never played this on a PCB, I can't tell you if the control issue is there. It would surprise me if it was, but at the same time it's a Korean game, and sometimes the quality control wasn't there, but the game relies on good controls. It's, you know, one of the very basic features, requirements that any puzzle game has is quick responsive controls, not it didn't respond, I hit the button again, I hit the button again. You try and move pieces around, you expect them to respond, and there's something it doesn't. Yeah, I didn't even know that voice was there. I couldn't remember that voice being there, but yeah, you get the voice of Duke Nukem in that one. Right, where shall we go next? There's so many games to cover, and we're already an hour and 42 minutes in. I could stay on Korean games. Could play some Japanese games. I could play another. Actually, let me just briefly. I fired this up in the last several streams, but I just wanted to show some recent progress on. I fixed this earlier today. This is Touch and Go, the Gaelco volleyball game again. But if we load save state 9, Super Spike, if we actually want to play the game. That scroll there now works.
14, 11. Super 14, 11.
But you would believe how difficult that, how messy the implementation of the vertical scroll is here. If you look at the pull request to implement that, it doesn't have a scroll register. It's using 1 bit in every one of the values of the horizontal scroll in a seemingly random order, where each 1 bit being set, the most, controls the scroll value. But it's not like 512 bits to make a 512 bit scroll value. A single bit being set is what determines the scroll value, and the other bits that are lower scroll values don't matter. But then the order in which those bits are in memory makes no sense. It's like they discovered it was a side effect of the hardware or something. I don't know. It's really, really strange. Was Peter Pack-Rat a successful game? It got home ports over here, but I need to assign Damn I'm Good to a sample on the space key. I could hack up the script I used for the 3000 Must Die stream. Maybe, but I think it just get annoying. Here's one I really don't know what I'm letting myself in for. Taito game from '84, Ben Bero Bear, on Halley's Comet hardware. And Halley's Comet driver is probably the worst driver in MAME. If you look at the code for the Halley's Comet driver and don't scream in horror, then there's probably something wrong with you, or you don't understand the code. A bootleg of CPS2 Super Street Fighter coming to MAME. I mean, the bootlegs of CPS2 all over the place at the moment, so it depends when the bootleg was from, Mick. I mean, all the Phoenix boards are technically bootlegs, and then there are clone boards that were made recently. There's a Gigaman 2 that used a protected MCU for the sounds to the Q sound. So it depends what period it's from. I mean, there was rumoured to be a bootleg Super Street Fighter 2 from back in the day in Brazil with a Starfield and things like that, but it's never shown up. And obviously there's a Mega Drive bootleg. I don't know. Acrobatic Dogfight. I have played that one on stream before, Rimana. But this one... So I think we're quite quiet again now. The joys of having to adjust the volume per game. So I think I'm going to go down and put out the fire. And it's got this odd perspective to it. I've never played this before, so I literally don't know what I'm doing. I do know this fire's getting very big. So it looked like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, kind of. I'm putting out a fire. I don't think I even played this in the fire stream, did I? The doors look like a Kung Fu Tycoon. Very odd perspective, I have to say. What? I think I got there. I've never seen footage of it. It's just one of those things that was always rumoured back in the day before CPS2 was even emulated, is that people remember a version in Brazil that had Starfield background on the Versus screen. It's like, okay. It could have even been a prototype or something like that for a while. So yes, this is clearly a game where you're putting out fires and rescuing somebody. And I have literally never played it before. Oh, okay, don't walk in. There was a fire stream when Miss Dynamite was emulated. That is where the fire logo that I've been using on some of the recent streams comes from. The red and orange one. I liked it so much I decided to keep using it. Okay, I don't know how to put out this fire though. I can't get too close. It doesn't want to go further away. Oh, there we go. I'm going to crawl past here. You like this game? Have you played this one before, or is this a new discovery? Because for me, this is a new discovery. I mean, I like what I'm seeing, but I've definitely never played it before. Oh, I can't just crawl past that. Okay, never played it. Hey GP, welcome to the stream. You will see me playing a game I've never played before, which means I'm going to be even worse than usual. Hope you're doing well. Do you remember seeing this game in Wales? I'm not sure anybody was seeing this game anywhere. Oh, if you duck, you can fire more downwards. Okay. There's an Easter egg on the game over screen. Hold one player and two player start. and press player 1 button 1 and 2 simultaneously twice. I'm sure that's just going to mess with the modern PC keyboards, unfortunately. I don't know why the drawers, the filing cabinets are haunted. I'm assuming if I fall down the gap I die, so I'm not going to even try that. I had to bet the first time when I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, I mean, How These Comment itself is a really interesting Taito game. The hardware looks nothing like a Taito board. It's a really strange PCB. And this runs on the same board apparently. You use down to go down the stairs, even though they're there. Why am I now struggling when I was fine before? Super Burger Time. I don't know. Super Burger Time is the sequel to Burger Time. I don't think it's that obscure. Okay, the filing cabinets stun you. Okay. I made this look easy the first time. Obviously, there are probably more famous firefighting games. Brave Firefighters, the Chihiro one. The Saturn game. Seriously. It doesn't give much time to do that, it's a secret. How many buttons does this have? It has 2 buttons. It has jump and it has fire. And then also you can fire and you can change the direction like that. With up and down. The more you know, the more difficult it becomes because you're trying to use all these features when before I was just going through the level. Yeah, unless there's some bug and it's now just twice as difficult because I cleared this level easily the first time. Now I'm struggling. So we get to the bottom this time. We can aim the hose, yeah. There's a lot going on with this one. I think this is one of those really overlooked classic Taito games. Maybe the controls are a little stiff, but it's very creative. It's got some good tunes too. I don't understand what the characters are meant to be. It does look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. Obviously you have to avoid these things when there's an explosion going on. Which probably means timing it, because it's just about to explode now. Not that soon then. I got hit by that. Yeah, this seems to be a hidden gem. I should have played this before. I mean, I'm not convinced the emulation is going to be perfect, just, you know, from knowing how bad the How These Comment driver is. There might be collision issues here and all sorts. I think this is one to play on another stream, actually. I want to keep playing it, but at the same time, we should probably move on. But yeah, this seems actually like a proper hidden gem. And again, I never heard anybody talk about playing it. In terms of burning building games, it seems far superior to Momoko 120% or whatever it's called. Anyway, let's keep going and find another game to play. Okay, I'm going to go with one I've definitely played on another stream. But again, it's kind of hidden. And I think there was a recent improvement to the controls in it. So this is Future Flash, aka Laser Bases. from Hoei, and it's showing it's quite loud in my meter, so I'm going to turn it down. I don't know how loud it's actually going to be. So Future Flash, it's a little bit Miss Alcommandy. This is another one a lot of people requested before it was emulated. Momoko 120% is a buggy mess, Bob. It's a game that randomly has you going down staircases when you're trying to go up them, even though there were no staircase there, and just descending yourself into fire for no reason other than the game is full of bugs. It should not have been released in the state it was in, and people have said that happens on the PCB, so it's not even just a MAME thing, it's just a terribly buggy game on the arcades. So maybe, I think the NES version of Momoko might be better, but the arcade version is not good. This reminds me of Repulse. I thought Repulse was more of a traditional shooter. Whereas this is kind of missile. This is trackball, so this is Missile Commandy. It's much better than Taito's Colony 7, which also wanted to be Missile Command. Uh-oh, I've lost an underbase. I think the sound's pretty good. It's a little bit random, a little bit noisy, but kind of what it's meant to be. Second stage. So we get this madness now. Warp zone. Uh-oh. And then there were none. Future Flash was released in North America by Amstar for Hoei, later Coreland, and now Banpresto. I'm still going. I thought I died there. I didn't realise you could die on that section and still continue. Now the interesting thing with all the Laser Base and Future Flash sets is I believe they all fail the ROM check, but that might be because they patched the code and didn't update the ROM check. I don't really know. Or maybe it's just the Laser Base sets that do. Future Flash doesn't. Hey Costado, welcome. Repulse has several names. Son of Phoenix, 99 The Last War. It's one of those games where they didn't seem to know what to call it, and everybody who licensed it called it something different. What I call bugs, you call challenge. Challenge is okay if it's fair. If you're walking down invisible escalators to your death doom in fire, that's not challenge. That's broken game. But yeah, this is a game that was surprisingly popular, and the protection was figured out a few years ago now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more. Until then, it didn't run in MAME. Very Gaelco-like protection system, actually. Some mystery device on the PCB that sits in a ROM socket and sort of maps in ROM space, but doesn't act like a ROM. This is a trackball game, yeah. So it's already better than Taito's Colony 7 just by being a trackball game. You see, I can move around quickly. It does feel a bit like a proper sequel to Missile Command. At least to me. It's more interesting than any official sequel to Missile Command. Son of Phoenix was the name you saw it. Yeah, I guess that's meant to be a cash-in on Phoenix, even though it's got nothing to do with the Phoenix game. I didn't play non-broken games because they were too easy. I don't think I would have found any of the games easy, but that's just me. Oh, thank you to Mick Makorak for the €10. It's always appreciated. So it helps pay for the drinks and things like that on the streams. So thank you. If you've got any specific game you'd like me to look at, just let me know and I'll prioritise it, as I try to do for anybody who does drop a donation. Crux went bankrupt during Repulse's development. Is that one of the reasons it's got so many different names? But you're more than welcome, Mick. I say I enjoy doing the streams, I enjoy highlighting games. And say some of these I have looked at on stream before. But it always surprises me when I cover a game that I think I've covered loads, and then somebody will say they weren't aware of it. That happened at the end of yesterday's stream with Bond's Adventure, the Taito game, where I thought, you know, Stephen watched as many of my streams, he would have already seen it, but he'd never seen that one before. So, I don't mind playing ones I have played before. Not played much of this one, but that's again because it's only been emulated for, say, 4 or 5 years rather than from the early days of MAME. You must think of some horrible games to stream, as long as they're not adult ones or inappropriate ones, Gustado, because, you know, I don't want to be in trouble with YouTube. But yeah, there we go. That's a bit of Future Flash, which is a good fun one that if you like Missile Command, you're probably going to like, and tends to get overlooked now, even though we got a lot of requests for it back in the day. Horrible games, horrible games, horrible games. Shall we go with a bit of Strata Incredible Technologies? They're always horrible. One that I'm probably not going to be able to control, because I don't know what the controls are. It's probably analog. You've never seen that one before either? Yeah, it is an interesting game. Turn key or press horn to continue.
Strata presents
3 coins.
Driver's Ed.
This is probably the closest to a game that feels like a Kyle Hodgetts game that Strata ever made. Also maybe an early Jaguar game. Time Pilot 84. Mitchell mentioned that earlier too. Any CPC game is horrible. Are you a bit of a C64 fan then, GP? Should I be telling Zypho? 3 coins to play this. Advanced. The Dan Ator. Yeah, it's pretty popular in the CPC world. I mean, we looked at what was it? One of the Spectrum versions of one of the games, but the CPC sort of Iliana, I think it was Ilana. But the CPC version uses that cartridge. I think it's just a load of ROM banking, to be honest. Custom ROM mapping that fits into the other expansions, but provides ROM banking and the like. I don't think the basics would be too difficult to emulate. I don't think it's like these the ones on that have an ARM CPU where you have to emulate the ARM because they call subroutines and things like that. So I think it could be emulated quite easily. So yeah, this was Incredible Technology's attempt to make a 3D racing game. Did they succeed? It's functional. I do like the jumps. It feels a bit stunt car racerish, just without the cool tracks. I don't know how I get my boost back though, unfortunately. It looks prettier than hard driving. It's a bit newer than hard driving too. I don't think it holds up well against the games that came out at the same time as it. I mean, it's probably the closest we're going to get to playing Final Lap today, though. So this one's for Cow.
Bonus fuel.
My race car has a horn. It's so that if there's any cows in the track, they know to move out the way. Because as we saw with virtual racing, cows on the course can be a bit of a problem. Don't overtake me. Hey, nor you. Oh. Do you hear cows? I should hear a donation thing in a minute, because I can see in the chat that Evie for some reason has decided to send £10 my way on the stream, which she really doesn't have to. You can buy me a drink or some food when you see me, Evie. You don't have to spend money on the stream. But thank you anyway. If you have any requests that aren't Dig Dug, I'll play them, because I think everybody knows Dig Dug and Snow Brothers. But thank you, Evie. But you really should just you know, buy me something when you see me, because YouTube take about, you know, a big cut of this. I only get about half of that to my pocket, unfortunately. But I know we want to show some support, so that's always good. The skyline here looks so out of place. But yeah, this feels like a Kyle Hodgetts game. Yeah, Google take about 30%. That's what I'm saying. If you know me in person, then it's actually better just to do that. It might be more these days. It's a bit ridiculous. That's why some people do it through Streamlabs, but then there's a whole extra thing to set up with that. Evie wants me to buy some juice box cards. Sean's not looked at the ones I got last time yet, as far as I know. Or maybe he just couldn't get anything out of them. Well, thank you anyway, Evie. But say in the future, it probably makes more sense just to do it in person. But you know, it's nice to support me on my streams. I do appreciate it. Have some horns. I don't even know how to use my boost. That's the worst part. Does it say what the boost button is? Turbo boost. Wait. Turbo boost is B. What kind of control scheme is this? I thought I'd run out of boost. Apparently I've just not been using it. Boost away. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. My car can fly now. I've got no boost left. Boost gone. So I don't know what to think of this. I mean, it's not stealing coins off me like most Incredible Technology games. It also says lap 1, so I don't know what's going on even. Fuel low. I know. Some orchestra hits there. There's sound effects. Oh, so that's just a race against the clock? I don't know. Golden Tea Stream. How much does Patreon take? I don't know. Thank you, Johnny Newcomb, for subscribing. Thank you. If you're in the chat, feel free to say hello if you haven't already. Everybody takes something. I think Streamlabs don't take anything at the moment. Patreon wanted loads of extra details. It's fine, a little bit uninspiring, but maybe it's underrated. Maybe it's one of IT's better games, one of the early 3D attempts. I'm not sure. I'm gonna play a game called Rain now by Sega, or Coreland and Sega. Now, I don't know if this requires brain power to play. It doesn't look like it. Hey, Guilty Fighter X. There's a Power Instinct 5 that came out after Matrimony. Do I know if it's going to be in MAME? I'd assume if it came out after Matrimony, it's going to be on PC-based hardware, so you're probably going to be looking more at one of the Type X emulators or something like that. Unless it's... I can't imagine it being on a traditional arcade PCB. You love this game's OST. What about the actual game? Again, I've not really played this. I kind of feel like I need a turn around key, but there isn't one. I've got to fire back. No, I can't fire. I've got a very limited fire backward. I'm feeling. It kind of reminds me of Vanguard, but really janky. It's a game with really bad scrolling that feels kind of like you're in control and also completely not in control. And apparently I need air. It doesn't scroll diagonally, it scrolls in steps. Oh, thank you to Mr. Outer Heaven for the $5 Canadian dollars through the super chat. Again, if you have any specific requests that you'd like me to look at, let me know. The game is hard. Maybe it does require brain power then. I'm probably not going to get very far in that case. The scrolling is the first thing I noticed. It's really awkward in it though. Oh, now it's turned into Forgotten Worlds, just without the rotary stick. Can I collect these? They look like diamonds. Got killed by a space diamond. That was very misleading. Taito's Space Cyclone. That is one I worked on the emulation of a while back. The Starfield's still not correct in it, but yeah, maybe I can have a look at Space Cyclone. Those are Game Over diamonds. Yeah, they're not Mr. Do diamonds. Mr. Do diamonds are nice and friendly and give you like lots of bonus points and extra lives and the like. These diamonds just kill. What is with the scrolling? Sega, do you know how to scroll? Why doesn't it just scroll diagonally? Why? So you have to hold a direction and fire the secondary weapon, which you have a limited number of if you want to do that. If you don't hold up to move up, you will get scrolled into the wall. Yeah, I say I've never played this one before. I thought that was going to fall on me. Now, I don't try and collect the diamonds, if I get that far. Control is just... I've still got the secondary shot, which stays there, and then explodes. Oh, okay. This Game Over diamonds, take that. I mean, I could have expected a game maybe with zombies to be called Brain, or Brains. I don't really know why it's called Brain. Maybe it was meant to be called Brian. Maybe I'm Brian the Spaceman. Diamond bugs. Now the controls here are actually really laggy on this section. It takes a while to respond to anything. Turning, moving. Space bugs. Not Space Bugger, which maybe I should play again. Yeah, maybe I should play Space Bugger again in a bit. That was fun. I feel like I should be able to go down there. Yeah, I can't. Oh, not all the way down there though. I feel like if I force scrolled my way down there, there might be a secret. But again, we're dealing with this. I'll collect a floppy disk then. I don't know what anything is in this game. I collected a floppy disk and then got balls dropped on my head by respawning. And well, that was a game. That was indeed a game. Have I played the Sega Sonic arcade game? I have. You really need a trackball for it, though. So, Taito Space Cyclone. Yeah, let's have a quick look at that. I mean, this one was on the Hamster Arcade archives. So or was it the Taito Anniversary? It's some recent Taito Anniversary maybe. It was on a recent collection, suspiciously after we emulated it. But yes, Space Cyclone by Taito. It's the first game in the Haru no Ken Flying Dragon series from Neon Games, Culture Brain / Taito. No, that's Shanghai Kid is. I've played Shanghai Kid before. I didn't think Brain was. I got confused because you put Culture Brain. I think Brain? No. Yeah, I played Shanghai Kid before. Shanghai Kid's the odd one where the entire CPU code is in a custom block, or at least a lot of the CPU code. No, maybe not the entire. A lot of CPU code is in a custom block. Just the Space Invaders collection. I forget which collections all these things are on. But yeah, Taito did recently reissue this. So the number of invaders you've got to kill is at the top. I do know how to play this game. I'm just a little bit out of practice. And they're trying to build a rocket, and you don't want them to build the rocket because the rocket turns into like a super space weapon thing. But they jump from cloud to cloud, and you shoot them. They do move rather jerkily. It's a very creative old game. You see, that shoots the lightning bolt at you. You have to move out the way of the lightning bolt, but not into bullets, because bullets are just as dangerous as lightning bolts. But I played quite a lot of this one when I emulated it, because I wanted to make sure it worked for one. And that thing comes down and fires fireballs at you, but you can shoot it. Space Invaders Anniversary Collection. So it draws these constellations, but I think the Starfield is meant to align with the constellations, and it doesn't in MAME because the Starfield implementation is incorrect. At least I couldn't work out how the Starfield worked, and it doesn't always seem to align with the constellation. But Starfields are not my speciality. And they can be incredibly complex because a lot of Starfields, you know, they're often half discrete analog tech. And even as we saw with things like the CPS-1 Starfield, that was only just correctly emulated for the next MAME release, thanks to the FPGA research that has been done. I love the big lightning effect. When I saw screenshots of this before it was emulated, I thought that was probably just, you know, for the flyers only. It didn't happen in game, but then you play the game and you do get that massive lightning bolt. It does seem to align with the collection version. Yeah, they maybe got different information and know how the Starfield works. I think some of these collections they've actually been provided with information that we don't have, which surprises me because Taito are well known for not having information on their old games. Have I played Zupapa? Not on this stream, but I can have a look at it. It was originally going to be a Phase game in 1994, wasn't it? But Zupapa is one of my favourite Neo Geo games. I mean, maybe they kind of align. I don't know. Yeah, this game is good fun. I'm not doing a very good job of showing how you play it, but obviously you can blast the clouds, so they've got nowhere to land as well. So there's a fair bit of strategy going on with this one. It's a lot more than just Space Invaders. But yeah, I can have a look at Zupapa. I think it's relatively well known. But I just can't believe Zupapa came close to not ever being released. I think it had been released in '94 when it was originally meant to be released. It would have been a huge hit. But 2001 still holds up. Now there might be some discrete sound missing here too. I don't know if there's meant to be a firing sound effect like Space Invaders. Again though, once it comes to tracing the PCB at circuit level, that is beyond my personal skills. So I was a little disappointed that nobody picked up the driver had done and improved upon it, but it doesn't always happen. It was done by Tomohiro Nishikado, it's designer of Space Invaders. I think it's a better game than Space Invaders. There's more to it. I'm surprised the enemies don't look as much like the Space Invaders as you see in some other games. But yeah, this one, I did play a lot of this when it was emulated, so to me this isn't too unknown, but again it's one of those that wasn't in really old versions of MAME, so maybe people aren't aware of it. It is very good though. It's one of the few, you know, rare games that turned up and I go, actually, that is really good. That deserved to be more popular. A lot of them are just like, oh yeah, we can see why that failed. So I'm going to do... I'll probably do Zupapa next. Then maybe Time Pilot 84, because it's been mentioned a few times, that one. And, neither were on my massive list of like about 200 potential games, but say I'm always listening to what is being said in the chat. You've been playing on the collection and got hooked. Yeah, it's very addictive. It's a genuinely good game, this one, Space Cyclone, and I've heard good things about the collection too. So if you want to own it officially, then go out and buy the collection. So yeah, Zupapa's been mentioned. So let's have a look at Zupapa. One of the 2001 Neo Geo games when SNK were trying to find old, almost complete games to finish off so they could release them because they were running out of money. Yeah, I definitely recommend you try it, Irving Manor. So, like most Neo Geo games, stretch the screen a little bit. Going up. Now, there's a lot of depth to the scoring system on this one. The basic mechanics is, you know, you collect these little guys, you throw them at people, and they explode. But then you can collect them back while they're exploding, throw them at other enemies, and chain the enemies, and all sorts of other stuff. So, if you're good at it, you can score pretty highly by doing that. Yeah, SNK was on their knees, they were looking for anything to release. And say this is from '94, but it's better than most other single screen platform games. So you see, you do that, you get them again. If you can throw them at another character in that time, you can create a bigger chain, although that takes a lot of skill. But yeah, this is one of my favourite Neo Geo games. I love the unique mechanics of it. So you have to get these guys at the start of the level. Oh, don't fall on things then. I'm not playing it well. I've not got the scoring mechanics down. But again, if you can if you can consume everything on the screen with the star pattern after you kill an enemy, you get a bigger bonus. There's all sorts of stuff. I mean, people were still buying Neo Geo stuff in 2001. It had a huge install base still. But SNK, I think probably projects like Metal Slug 3 just cost so much money. That kind of helped. I mean, if you look at the amount of content in Metal Slug 3, the average gamer is not going to see. All the little secrets. I can't imagine how much they spent on that game for things nobody's ever going to see. Especially not in an arcade, because the game is brutally difficult and just... Oh dear. Wipes you out, so you're not going to want to experiment in a game that difficult. I can usually complete a few stages of this game without a problem. But the other thing to note is when you've stunned an enemy, you can use your punch attack to reposition them, which again helps with chaining the attacks. There's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And if you're playing it for score, it becomes incredibly challenging. See, the more enemies on an enemy, the bigger the circle that comes out. KOF was still huge. Obviously, games like Garou were out not long before that had really made people pay attention. It's just SNK were struggling. Too many big budget games. Also mistakes like the Hyper 64 that just didn't do well. And that must have been an enormous investment. There we go. Garou was bigger than Street Fighter 2. I mean, I don't know if it sold better than Street Fighter 2, but it really made people pay attention. It definitely was more popular than Street Fighter 3, I think. Street Fighter 3, it took until more recently for anybody to say a good word about it, as far as I know. Yeah, Snow Brothers was one. Evie really liked Snow Brothers, actually. She was playing it at Play Blackball. But yeah, I did a whole stream of single stream platformers before. I may do another one. There are just so many of them. And so many of them have unique twists. The ones that don't have unique twists tend to be boring. If you look at something like Semicon's Toyland Adventure, that's so disappointing because there's nothing, no depth to it, no twist. It's just the most ordinary, boring implementation of a single screen platform you can find. But most of the others have something about them. At least if you're good at them. When I was looking at Mitchell's Funky Jet on a recent stream and just showing the version differences, the Korean and Japanese versions of Funky Jet are really good. You can punch up and down. On the export version you can't. They took it out. And so a lot of people have write Funky Jet off because they only played the world version, which is actually pretty terrible. So Tetris obviously got Tumble Pop and Diet Go-Go. Joe Mac Returns. Taito got Bubble Bobble. Don Doko Don, which I don't like. But yeah, single screen games, platform games, like you say, there are a ton of them. And it is one of my favourite genres, so... there was never an arcade version of Parasol Stars officially. Somebody at Taito has said as much, which is odd because it's programmed exactly like an arcade machine with credits and everything on the PC Engine, but it never hit the arcades. There are bootlegs of it, the Tour Vision ones, but no official release in the arcades. Yeah, you're putting these people on, these little guys on the enemies to mob them, and so you can attack them. But they've got all these cute animations. Like that one's juggling, and that one they do their own things. They've got character. So I can't play this anyway. That's Zupapa. I think I will do another single screen platform stream where I revisit some of the ones I played before. But yeah, so that's a really good game, and I don't know if it's lesser played. I thought it was quite popular, being a later Neo Geo game, but definitely worth a look. One that has been mentioned quite a few times, twice at least in chat, is a Time Pilot 84. Apparently there are 3 sets of this. I don't know if anybody's documented the differences. But yeah, this was the sequel to Time Pilot. And from what people have said, it doesn't seem to be anywhere near as well known. That's an odd startup crosshatch, because that's meant to be the visible area, but never mind. Yeah, that was 2 players too. I don't play many games 2 players, obviously, but I'm sure it's plenty of fun. I mean, obviously, Bubble Bob was your famous 2-player single-screen platformer, where you have to have 2 players to get the proper ending. So this is like Time Pilot, but with ramped-up graphics. Now you have to use the secondary attack on the grey ones, and your primary attack on the green ones. And it really is just the Time Pilot formula, but with updated graphics, updated time zones. But it's kind of one of those, if it's not broke, cases of, I think. They had a solid formula, and they stuck pretty closely to it. Missiles going nowhere. There we go. Yeah, you lock onto some of the enemies, you're right. Like that one. The missiles lock on, although you do have to avoid everything else. And you rotate. It's a joystick control. You rotate with the joystick, so it's not like a dial or anything like that. Which some people thought it was. I've seen people say that they thought this was a dial game and rather it being a dial controller game, but it never was. It's always been a joystick game. The joystick controls do work. It's one of those with really smooth animation too. Everything is really well animated. You know, there's plenty of frames of turning animations. Your missiles have plenty of frames of animation. And also it's got appealing purple backgrounds. In some sense, I'm reminded of Uridium, but multi-directional. If you've played Uridium, some of the ship designs are kind of similar. The pancakes that flip over. Less ROMs as in lower capacity in total, less code, or just larger ROMs but less of them. It might indicate, if it's got less code, it might indicate it's an earlier version. Sound balance is a very difficult one to get right, and you know, as we've discovered recently, so many boards have analog filters on that have not been emulated until recently, and emulating them is quite expensive. Oh, it thanks me for playing. Konami, yeah, they do have, many Konami games have really good sound. A little bit Williams-like again with this one. The hardware's not so much Williams-like, but the sounds do sound quite Defender-y. Lots of phasing sound effects. I still can't get over how much Tutankhamun just feels like Defender in a cave, though. That struck me as something I never realised until I streamed it and played it. But no, I'm not very good at it, as you can see. Anyway, we are on 2.5 hours. We've got about half an hour of the stream left. You played this in a camping site and didn't know what it was? Yeah, maybe people just aren't aware of Time Pilot 84 then. I know a lot of people know the original Time Pilot, but I always personally thought this was just as well known. I like the boss sound. You get this when the boss appears. And the trail effects, that looks so cool. The high score screen sounds. I'll have to have a look at the other sets at some point, see if there are obvious differences. Yeah, again, it's kind of a phasey effect, isn't it? They could have just left it silent here, but they didn't. They wanted... I guess they wanted to try and play again, which is why they're keeping up the presentation even after game over. There is a Rastan 3 Warrior Blade. In fact, that is potentially one we could look at, GP. I'm going to have to go to the non-window mode because... yes, we can have a look at Warrior Blade. I'm going to fit it on the screen. It's a big one that uses a very wide display. There we go. So yeah, since you mentioned it, GP, this is Rastan 3 Warrior Blade. I think we want the gapless view, don't we? Dual side-by-side gapless. Oh, it's not quite gapless because I've got the filters on, so excuse the line in the middle. Dewey, Huey, and Louis. No, that's Rastan. It'll just be Rastan. So this has very big sprites. If you look at the sprite, it's over half the size of one of the screens vertically. But yeah, it doesn't play much like Rastan. They turned Rastan into a two-screen beat-em-up. Obviously a weapon-based one. Hot B, Astro B, Warrior B, Bumblebee. I don't know. What other games? You can charge. But yeah, this one doesn't get played much. Maybe it's because Rastan 2 kind of killed the series by being so bad, and then this was just such a departure from that. Nobody paid attention. But yeah, it's even got multiple paths here, as you can see. I'm going to the palace. A little quiet. Maybe I should turn the volume up, but a bit late now. Actually, it's not that late, is it? I can turn the volume up. I'm just being lazy. Yeah, Rastan 2 really is that bad. The reviews that it's almost Double Dragon 3 level bad, Rastan 2. I mean, it's not got the microtransactions and things that make Double Dragon 3 really bad, but as sequels go, Rastan 2, yeah, it's up there. Not really sure what they were thinking. It's even really ugly too compared to the first game. It's like the choice of font is horrendous. But that wasn't Lesser Played. That even got ported to things, and you're wondering why didn't somebody just tell Taito the game's awful, we don't report it. Funky B. I played Funky B before. I don't think we're going with the B stream though, despite what Bob thinks. Unfortunately, Cow, there's no final lap B. There's probably a set B. But this wasn't on my list either. I completely overlooked this myself, which maybe is a good sign that something is lesser played. Yeah, dual screens here. Which is why I've not got my standard CRT view, because I've not got a double screen CRT view. B is for Bob, Hot Bob. Is that your name on other streams, Bob? Is that when you join the actual adult streams yourself, you become Hot Bob? As beat-em-ups go, I don't think it's the worst. Say, the sprites are huge, they're well animated. Maybe just feels a little dull to me. I don't know, it's never one that I've spent much time with. The environments are maybe not the most interesting, not the most memorable. So I've played this before and I really can't remember what any of the stages are. Yeah, it uses mirrors. I mean, if I turned off the filter, it'd be okay. It's just because there's the rounded, the curvature on the screen of the filter is making it have a bigger gap on the edges than I would like. But we'll just pretend. Another game that was converted to Tetris was Rastan Saga 2. I mean, lots of boards got converted to Tetris. Go down. Oh, there we go. Ow. Is that really meant to leave a trail like that? That looks weird. It almost looks like the visuals are wrong, but I'm not sure. Might have to find a reference for that one and see, or see if it's broken at some point in MAME. Because that blade there coming out the wall, that spike, looks a bit wrong to me. Yeah. So there's some of the is H boards, the one with Civilian, whatever you want to call it, were converted to. Maybe it was Dynamite League that was converted. I don't know. That doesn't even use the high res mode. Look, it's a big boss name or something. I don't like you, even though you're my friend. You appear to be almost two-dimensional. Why is the German speech? That's an interesting question. Why am I still trying to type that guy? It could be this is a German version. That is true. I mean, Midnight Landing, the version we've got is Japan/Germany. So maybe there is an undubbed version of this. I don't know. But yeah, this is a bit of Warrior Blade. Or maybe it's meant to be German to fit the theme or something like that. I don't know. Starfield doesn't really fit the theme though, does it? It's turned into the Windows screensaver. Now I'm Blastman. One of those Easter eggs when you enter a default name. Maybe the sound's been rebalanced. I do wonder about that visual thing with the spikes on the wall. That looked really, really odd. It might just be how it is, but to me that was suspicious. I don't know. So, we have about 20 minutes left. And my list is still full of games to look at. I don't know if to go with something really bad or just something that's probably overlooked. Scrolling through these. I'm going to go with another Hot B game actually. Hangzo, the prototype. Very loud. Not going to spend too long on this because it does get a bit dull after a while. But presentation values on this one do remind me a lot of the first game, the Schmeiser Robo that we started with. That's fine. If sound is your thing, then feel free to comment about sound. I'm guessing from the name you were kind of happy when Vimana finally got sound in MAME. In fact, Vimana itself is maybe quite an overlooked game. I don't know. Can a toe plan shooter be overlooked? trying to remember how to play this. Clearly not. Yeah, you can swing like that. It's a bit Spider-Man like. You jump or double jump is a swing basically. Okay. You have to time your attacks though. Your attack is slightly after you press the button, so it's important to time things correctly. Otherwise, you'll just die. Still a bit loud, isn't it? Don't just swing into things like that, because that will also kill you. Taito H system version of Tetris. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, I mean, then you've got other versions of Tetris. There's that the e-board Tetris that is its own thing. That's not just a converted board. They wrote a Z80 version for the System E, and Tetris is just everywhere. In fact, we should probably play another version of Tetris soon, shouldn't we? Not necessarily a good one, but maybe another Korean one. Not Final Tetris. Even though I did work out Final Tetris does work. I had doubts over the controls before, but it does work. I'm thinking Philco's Xyonix might be the one to play. I think that's still got an undumped MCU that's simulated. Well, it is dumped, but Xyonix is one of those odd ones where the MCU seemed unprotected, but also gave a bad dump. So I think internally the MCU on it was failing, and the protection bit probably got wiped along with half the data. So we don't have a good dump of Xyonix MCU to emulate it, but reminds you of the Ninja Gaiden on the NES. Yeah, I mean, it does look character-wise like Ninja Gaiden. I can't remember how to kill the bosses though. Yeah, continue. Again, you've got to learn the boss attack patterns. I don't think I can just keep using these. Again, another hot B game with actually really good presentation value. I'm assuming I actually need to get it with the sword though. Obviously not when I'm being attacked or punched. Again, it's almost like the robot there came from the first game. I think Xyonix is its own thing. I've not noticed it to be a hack, but we'll have a look at it later. I mean, Tetris itself isn't the most difficult thing to implement. This looks like what's the pudding enemy from Kadash, which apparently is tied to lots of Easter eggs in Kadash. I was reading on the cutting room floor. You can have all sorts of themed puddings, not just the black pudding. It's a sewer level. Some big rats. Yeah, the rope makes it very Spider-Man-like. I think that's the unique hook of the game, though. Also, if you time it right, you can attack using it. Your kick attack does happen on the rope. So, like here, I can clear off the enemies using the kick attack. If you don't stand too close to the enemies. Yeah, this wasn't released, and after a while it does start to feel like they ran out of content, ran out of ideas, very placeholdery. But the first few levels of it are solid, and many release games feel like that after a while anyway, so who knows. I think this could have easily been released and found some popularity. It's definitely not completely unfinished, but apparently didn't get released for whatever reason. Although, yeah, I am just sort of forcing my way through the level at the moment. Obviously, if you want to play it properly, it requires a bit more skill than I'm demonstrating here. Then we get an elevator level. Oh no, not yet. After this, I think. Surprised there's no raster effect on the water to change the colour of the sprite, but as far as I know there isn't. I don't think it's missing, I think it just looks like this. It would have been a nice touch, but can't have everything. River of Ectoplasm. Yes, I should probably go and watch that Ghostbusters at the cinema, maybe. I've heard good things about it. Is the elevator level next? I think it is. Yeah, high-speed elevator. Again, it's a well-done elevator level, if you like elevator level. It's got the two different sides, which makes it a bit different to your traditional elevator. You can swing, but not very effectively on the elevator. It kind of makes sense. It's an elevator. How's it really meant to work? Saved by the lift. Not that time. Have one life left. Then we'll move on. But yeah, again, I think being a hot B game and a dump from like the last 5 or 6 years, this one does get overlooked. It doesn't get played that much. So a lot of people still end up downloading ROM sets for like 10-year-old versions of MAME, so there are many things that they miss out on. However, this level is dragging on a bit. There's not really enough happens on the lift, as nice as the lift effect is. Is it alright if you show the final lap to Hellcade? Yeah, sure. You've got moderator privileges in the chat, so you should be able to post a link. If it doesn't let it through, that'll be YouTube censoring it, not me. Long name. I do really like the font on this as well, the custom font they've used. It's so many games just use the generic arcade font, so when you see one that's actually custom and still readable, not an unreadable font, it's a nice effect. Also, again, Hot B using the rose scroll on the title screen. Shows they know how to use the Data East hardware. Yeah, lots of stuff gets left behind. That's why it's always nice when it shows up, especially ones that have had a considerable amount of work, like that one. So yeah, let's look at an odd Tetris code. Yeah, the MCU's not dumped, the 68705B3. Oh, it is, but there's a bad bit in it, the fixed address bit. So is this a hack of Atari's Tetris? I don't know. This uses Z80. Visually, yeah, it's kind of similar. I don't know. Philco did hack a few things. I mean, they've hacked, say, Wiz, and I think Daiga. Is it Daiga? Or hacks of sidearms, I want to say. But, I don't know. Obviously, visually, it's very similar on the piece graphics. But then it's Tetris. You do have a drop piece button. But yeah, this is one I emulated a long time ago now. I didn't do the I/O simulation, which is what the MCU does. I can't even remember who did that for me now, but I got the rest up and running. I never thought to compare it to Atari's Tetris at the time, though, to see if it fits in that driver or if there are any other similarities. I just wrote it as its own driver. Now, there are Tetris games that don't run in MAME still. There's Beauty Block, which is on a System 16 clone hardware, but there's a protection chip on that we really don't know what does. It seems to be actually quite involved and complex. Another game, IQ Pipe, has the same thing. I don't know if anybody's actually spent time studying it, but to me, I don't see even how it's calling the protection. Maybe the protection's just sitting in between ROM reads, or it's quite odd. But yeah, if anybody fancies looking into an unemulated game and seeing if they can figure something out from the 68K code, then Beauty Block and IQ Pipe are two possibilities to look at. Tetris is a 6502, so it's not going to be a hacker Tetris then, unless they've re-implemented everything from, just gone line by line and re-implemented it like some of the plug and plays, which I think famously was done for the Jack Specific Pac-Man ones and the Ghosts and Goblins, and some of the Sega one that's not done yet, the FIFA one I think was done that way, and NHL. But I think Gaelco probably just did their own implementation of Tetris. To be fair, I think this actually plays a fairly good team of Tetris. There are many bad versions of Tetris, unplayable ones, but this seems to get it right. And Gaelco obviously did other Tetris type games, Atomic Point, which is another one that runs on a System 16 clone. And I think there's another one, can't remember what it's called. The popular puzzle game Xyonix, absolutely not Tetris. The Game Boy version is best. Game Boy Tetris is the most famous one, yeah. Everybody knew at school the Game Boy had that one. I think, isn't that the one where there is a version which doesn't have the well-known music to an earlier version? So, that's, I think, historically interesting for reasons other than just being the Game Boy Tetris. I'm sure I read something about there being like the first revision of it has completely different music. Not the famous music. Another 4 split screen game, this. I think I do need to do an episode on 4 split screen games where, half the screen is just wasted when you're playing as a single player. I mean, I like split screen games, I think they're fantastic, but when you're playing a single player game, you kind of want the whole screen to be used. Gaelco was formed in 85, stopped making games in 91, and went out of business in 93. And I assume that The Destroyer from Jail was one of their last projects, which probably didn't help with that, because it looked like they spent far too much money on that game. Anyway, you can play Tetris well. It's not the most difficult Tetris game, as you can see. Unless there's protection that's meant to make it more difficult, but we should probably move on. So yeah, Xyonix is Gaelco's implementation of Tetris. Now, not every game Epos made was great. In fact, some were fairly bad. This one might be fairly bad. We'll see. I've not really spent much time playing it. This is called Street Heat. And runs on Donkey Kong type hardware. So it's not one that runs on the original hardware. It's a Donkey Kong conversion. Yeah, Spiders we've played a bit on stream, Vimana. It's actually a really good game, Spiders. So, I think this is a racing game to rival Final Lap. Maybe. Or maybe outrun Europa more so than Final Lap. Does this actually... Yeah, this does use dials, so maybe that's the problem. Hold on. Let me try loading that up with now support and see if it's easy to play, because it's a bit of a pain on the keyboard. A million times better than Final Lap. Yeah, I agree, Bob. Oh yeah, it's not great on mouse, but it's a bit better than the keyboard. You can actually dodge out the way. So, Street Heat. Was this 85, did it say? Same year as Space Harrier. So yes, you could convert your Donkey Kong to this. Would you want to? I'm not sure. You can feel the heat from that explosion there, yeah. Final heat. Interestingly, you don't have to hold the accelerator, you just move up to full speed and then you've got a brake that slows you down. I don't know if this game does anything else or if it's just this. It's probably just this. Maybe, I think this is actually better than Spy Hunter 2, unfortunately. Spy Hunter 2 has no redeeming qualities. Spy Hunter 2 runs worse and is less playable than this. It's impressive just how bad Spy Hunter 2 is. Game over, driver 1. I get lots of initials, letters for my initials. So I'm just DDDDD, but yes, Street Heat. Come on, we had to finish on a bad game, didn't we? But then maybe we're not finished, I don't know. Maybe I can do until another half an hour. But we'll see. Evie's probably saying, no, I want to talk to you, so I don't know. I've not heard anything from Evie in a while. She went a bit quiet after donating the £10. Looks good if it was released in 82. Maybe. It doesn't play especially well, unfortunately. Fire Truck. Fire Truck was pretty interesting, yeah. I know the Atari one. Sorry. Again, probably want mouse support. Press start. What is start? You do have the truck behind you, you know, the wagon behind you, which is makes it a bit more difficult. Seizure warning. But yeah, these old black and white Atari games, some of them are pretty good. And this one, and what's the one with the little bug type car? I can't. Super Bug. Pretty good. I don't know if you're meant to collect things at the side of the road. To be honest, I'm just trying to survive. It's Ultimate Anxiety Simulator with a proper wheel. It's pretty impressive. Superbug, yeah. Atari bought some good ones in the 70s, to be fair. don't know where I'm going though, or what I'm doing. I feel like there should be more to do than just driving around, but I don't mind just going. Yeah, you don't drive into those though, fire hydrants. Well, I scored 80 points, which was so-so. For a time when people wore flares, very impressive. Yeah, what was this? This is mid-70s, isn't it? Oh, 78. Not quite mid-70s, a bit later than I thought it was. Are there any other controls? Gas, horn. That's the horn. Track selected space, so you can select different. Got bell. Back player start is to. Yeah, bit of fire truck. There is a back player control, but I say I've not got a second set of controllers set up to play that. Right. I'm wondering what to do next. Because, yeah, I think I will continue until another 25 minutes, and we'll see where we go. I'm just looking through this list again. Ooh. Cosmo Police Galavan. Many Nichibutsu games get overlooked. This one included. I don't know why, they just do, so let's play it. I'm reminded of the Jetsons for some reason. Yeah, there's Dial 1 and Dial 2. Up is jump in this, by the way, which is a little off-putting. It's also very loud, so let's turn it down. This is another case of get used to the controls. Honestly, I don't know what you do in this game. Look, I'm hanging the lift like it's Strider, though. I think I follow the arrow, though, so the arrow's telling me to go left, so I should probably go left. Spring. The sit-down had a steering wheel on the back and a seat for player 2 to control the truck block. Ah. So, like many Nichibutsu games, this kind of throws you in the deep end without much guidance to what you're meant to do. Obviously, there's an arrow. It kind of feels Kung Fu Mastery. And then you just die with easy. That might be a case of a regional difference too, because sometimes Nichibutsu regions are really unkind too. Yeah, I just lost like 2 lives in a row without doing anything. They get bounced up here. Kung Fu Master with guns, yes. And trampolines and lifts and who knows what. There's a spring on the floor. It's like Sonic. Go down. I'm in Ice Cave Land. What on earth? I don't know what's going on, Cam. It's Nishibutsu throwing everything in the mix, and I you know, if I lose power, I lose the robot suit. Then I get it back. If I lose power when I've not got the robot suit, I die. Now there's sharks. I'm underwater, but apparently that's fine. But this isn't fine because I'm losing all my health. But I've got my suit back. But that was a bad idea. And that's game over. It had a NES Famicom port. The NES port is much better, or better in your opinion. I think it also had an Amstrad CPC port that was terrible. I mean, it was an intense experience. It's the sequel to Copo 1, isn't it? Is it? Seems related. This is a horizontal game. Is it related to this game? I always thought it was, but maybe it isn't. Maybe they're just like police. Guess you had to get a new account. What happened to your old account, Extreme Wreck? This is one letter away from being Caro 1. Is this related to Cosmopolis Galavan? Or is it just another beat 'em up with guns and cop theme? To restart the computer due to password problems. The Famicom game came out 2.5 years after the arcade. That gave them time to maybe work out what they wanted to do, I guess. Galavan's based on a show. I didn't know that. This kind of feels a bit like Jailbreak, Konami's game. I don't know why. Something, again, maybe it's just the police theme. And that's not even the same type of game. I don't know, maybe it's the slightly jerky movement too, which I always associate with Jailbreak. Also, the sprite movement's very Game & Watch like, in chunks. At least I get one more sub. Well, thank you for the extra sub. I'd be really annoyed if that happened, for obvious reasons. I'm being chased by fire again, just like in that really good Taito game we found. This is tough. I think it's tough. I like the music on this, probably the best part. Honestly, I've never played this before. I think I've seen screenshots and just never tried to play it. It's a lot easier to play than Galavan. It makes more sense. Floaty jumps. Lift. Alright, take care. Good luck resubscribing to everybody. Do you think this one's a flop? I kind of like this one. I'm somewhat enjoying it. I'm gonna, once I die, I'm going to move on, but... Oops. I can use my jetpack with the second button to get extra height based on the charge. Okay, I've not even been doing that. If I want to kill those, I guess I have to. I'll get over the bigger bits of fire like this. Yeah. This is surprisingly good for a game I've never played before. Most CPC games are pants. You're trying to get in Zypho's bad books if he's watching GP. Another left. Oh, so you've got the map there which shows you the different routes you can take, so that's quite clever. Oh, that's game over. I am done on Cop 01. Alright. Let's go with a bit of Data East. Let's go with Thunder Zone, aka Desert Assault. Now this one uses quite a few blending effects and is a bit Commando-like from memory. He's probably playing Bridget GP. He secretly spends his entire time playing Bridget and Cauldron 2 when he's not streaming, and then acts like he hates them. Don't use the special attack at the start of the level. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have a lock shot. Got a rocking soundtrack though. This is a Data East game I don't see people talk about. Everybody will talk about Boogie Wings and Night Slashers and obviously Tumble Pop, Joe and Mac, but Thunder Zone? Not so much. Maybe for good reason? I don't know. It seems a little bit unfair. It almost feels like a sequel to the Ghostbusters game. Similar Data East scrolling shooter. That's a little bit my way. I don't know how I'm meant to avoid half of this stuff though. Maybe you're actually playing the game properly, but whoever does that. Yeah, it is a bit Bloody Wolf-like. That's the other one I was thinking of. Fortunately, you can't seem to jump. You've only got the two buttons, best I can tell. I think the blending effects are slightly wrong because the helicopter's not meant to have a shadow like this. It is one of those that needs a bit of attention. A lot of Data East games have had attention to the blending. Boogie Wings included, Night Slashers included, but here my helicopter's got a slightly white shadow. Also, how on earth am I meant to avoid things in this helicopter? I got missiled. They don't even have a grenade button. Feels a little lacking. Yes, it is over the top. I should be rescuing Lonnie. We're heading inside. Get an inside blending effect.
Mission accomplished!
Mission accomplished. Problem is your collision box seems huge. Training stage information. Now it's turned into combat school. That was nonsense. It is a 4-player game, by the way. If you just happen to want to make it even more over the top. That's the fairest way to train. If you survive, you can continue. Is that Mr. 2? I want the flamethrower. Now it's a bit Midnight Resistance-y. With balls of flying out at you. Balls of electric. No, apparently I meant to go up. Toasty. Last credit on this, then I'll move on. Yeah, just casual nuke everything. It's definitely an arcade game. It doesn't seem very fair. It seems completely over the top. Apparently there's a vehicle that I can enter. Not that way. Not by blowing it up. There we go. Oh, not enter ride on. As you can expect, see, it's basically uncontrollable. Can I just go around it? Apparently not. Apparently logic to walk around something does not apply in this game. Go on. This must be just ridiculous with 4 players. I can't imagine it being any less easy to understand what's going on if there's 4 people on the screen. Found the ambassador's helicopter. I think MAME was flying it. It's a very rocking soundtrack, yes. I'm not sure it holds up in terms of gameplay. Maybe if you practice it you could avoid everything. And the bullets aren't too fast. They're just all over the place. And say quite big collision boxes from what I can tell. Sandboat. That's how boats work, isn't it? But yeah, I think I need to have us look at some original references and see which blending effects are wrong. Unless there's no shadow where those things are going to land. I don't know if that's another missing emulation effect or if you just have to learn it. Oops, I pressed the Windows key. That's not clever. Oh well, we're dead. Sandboat gets to live another day. It's over the top. If it's awesome, I don't know. I think I do need to look in the emulation issues though, because I fixed quite a few data east things, but clearly that one still has some problems. Right, if we're ending at 3.5 hours, we have time for one last game. Should we go for something that's ridiculous? Let's go for non-PGM IGS game, Lord of Gun from 1994. One last game is not Final Lap. RAM OK, priority OK. For use in USA, Canada and Mexico only. Last is not the same as Final. There was never a game called Last Fantasy that spawned loads of sequels. Early IGS, well, not early, pre-PGM IGS, early-ish, but still when they're trying to make a game. Oh, don't shoot camel. Don't shoot bird.
I'll kill him. I'm a hostage.
Do shoot person on camel. Oh.
I'm a hostage. Wanna mess with me?
If you were a terrorist, you'd also shout, I'm a hostage. Ostrich? Hostage. Hostage, hostage, ostrich, same thing. Also, why can't I shoot the birds? The birds don't look friendly. GSI Matty, if you like this terrible piece of IGS jank.
I'll kill him. I'm a hostage. Ouch. Got it. Lousy shot, boy. I don't want to die. Got it. I'll kill him.
You're a camel. Different birds. Yeah, you can kill some of the birds, not other birds.
Hostage. I'll kill him. I'm a hostage.
They really don't look dressed to be in the desert. I shot the camel again, didn't I?
I'm a hostage. I'll kill him.
Okay, like, all the charm of a Sega FMV game. Yeah. Again, it's not one people often bring up when they're playing light gun games. Maybe for good reason.
Hostage. Lousy shot, moron. I'm clean.
The funny thing is, I'm assuming that these aren't the original voices from the Taiwanese release. 'Cause this sounds like a badly dubbed movie.
I'll kill him. I'm clean.
Also, the perspective is all off. Everybody, the size of everybody is just completely random. And look at this guy, he's like twice the size of the tank. Just a giant appears from nowhere to... It's just like one of those clip art shooters. Reload, yeah, reload. It's almost like he's telling me to reload. I'll kill him. The music is an 8-second loop. Yep. That windscreen makes no sense. Demand. Not target, demand. You are demanded to shoot this many. And now it doesn't say reload, it just makes a noise when you've got to reload. It's like a completely different game.
Excellent work.
It doesn't even do that on this section, it beeps. Why send me out on a mission before the train...
Reload! Reload!
And I failed. So now I've gone to training before the mission.
A lot more to do.
Is it point blank? Yeah, it's turned into point blank. And I don't know why it starts on a stage which is just like Operation Wolf, then turns into a point blank clone, but that's exactly what it does.
Reload!
The funny thing is, some of the IGS games, the PGM games, have all the graphics ROMs from this on the PCB for no reason. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them did. It's like they're not used by the PGM game, but they're on one of the cartridges. I mean, it could be a protection issue and it's just giving me stages in the wrong order, but it's just changed what it is completely. IGS do like their protection, so can't rule it out being a protection flow issue, but I think it's just what the game is, to be honest. It's just complete nonsense. It's almost like they gave up making the other game and decided to make this one.
Nice try, but not over yet.
What now? Oh, now we've got a normal stage again. Because this... Apparently you can shoot them.
Oh, wait, the shot, dude.
Reload!
That looks like a Hoover, a flying Hoover, Henry Hoover. No progression, no sense. Oh look, we've got a jet. So what am I on? Am I on a jetpack? Is that Superman?
I'm a hostage. I'll kill him.
This is just... This is a way to end the stream.
I'm a hostage. I'll kill him.
Lesser played, probably for a reason.
I'll kill him. I'm a hostage.
This is the way to end a company. This is when IGS were just getting started before they released the PGM and became really big and famous. And to be fair, if you played things like IGS's Grand Tour instead, or one of their many gambling and mahjong games, this seems like an amazing piece of work. Or we could have played Alien Challenge, their attempt at a fighter around the same time. There aren't even any secret things to shoot. You literally just shoot what you're meant to shoot. I can make it look maybe I can make it a little hole there. I don't know. doesn't look like a safe place to be. Alien challenges a ninja with a French surname. Yeah, the leap between Alien Challenge, the Killing Blade and Martial Masters is immense. You are right. I was almost tempted to play the Killing Blade today. But I didn't in the end. There we go. IGS's pre-PGM logo. And the region disclaimer in attack mode, because why not? Ah, dear me. Lord of Gun. Again, that title screen has nothing to do with the game content. It's just random things thrown together. Beasts. Dinosaurs. Snakes. Birds. Enemies. I don't know. I really don't know, GP. Don't shoot the cute animal. Okay. It's amazing just for all the wrong reasons. Anyway, yeah, we are over 3.5 hours now, so I will be ending the stream there. So thank you to everybody who has put up with some of these games. Again, I've got a massive list here. I could do another one of these streams, but I'm not sure I'll have time. We'll see. I've probably got a busy week ahead of me, but maybe if I don't prepare another stream, we'll get another lesser played game stream. But so thank you, everybody. It's been good, and obviously also thank you for the suggestions in the chat. And Aussie guy there saying IGS was formed in November of 1989, incorporated in 91, and still make mobile games today. So yeah, they didn't bankrupt the company by doing all these terrible games and then over budget things like the Gladiator and Demon Front. Hey Paolo, sorry I didn't see you there, but when am I going to do live searching for bugs? I'm always looking for bugs when I play these games. We've found quite a few, but sometimes I even go and fix them, but sometimes I don't know the fix, or it'll turn out there's bad ROMs. Zypho would still be going through the hellos. Yeah, that is probably true, GP. They do drag on a little bit sometimes, don't they? I think we need more of the get on with it on some of the Zypho streams. But it's nice that he involves the community and says hello to everybody, and his streams are quite busy. I try to rush through them a little bit and sometimes miss things. And then maybe people unsubscribe and go, oh, it's a terrible streamer, doesn't say hello to everybody. I don't know. But yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you Alpha, Bob, Smedis, Aussie Guy, GP, Peter, Vimana, Mr. Outer Heaven, Gaming Hell YouTube Thing, Paolo, who just joined. Yeah, and lots of other people. Erratic PT, say Smedis was there. There's been plenty of people. And of course, Evie, if you're still watching, thank you for joining Extreme Rec, who had to create a new account. I can't possibly say goodbye to everybody, but I will hope if you've enjoyed the stream. I'll see you on the next one. Of course, thank you to everybody for the kind donations as well. So, see you next time. And also, my monitor wants to turn off into energy saving night mode now, so it is probably a good time for me to be saying goodbye and ending the stream. So, night night, everybody. And the Ogre